Welcome to Armchair Expert. This is Dax Shepard, and I'm joined by Lily Padman. You know what's funny is we had a meeting, and we had a meeting with some people, and they thought our catchphrase was hello, 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 which was so fun.
It was on a deck. It was on a deck, and I wondered. I was like, oh, my God, how long are we going to go before he has to correct this?
Well, I didn't want it to get too far down the path.
I know. I could feel it, though.
It needed to be cleared up immediately.
Up.
And by the way, this easiest mistake, because if you listen to the show and you're like, yeah, and then he says something 3 times, of course it's hello, hello. It makes sense.
Hello, hello, hello is hard to do.
Hello, hello. What if that's I'm going to try it for real.
Okay.
All right. Hello, hello, hello. No, that's just okay. One more. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Armchair Expert.
That's pretty good.
Work.
But it's a lot of there's a lot of breath.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I had an
welcome is very consonantal.
Ooh,
oh my
nice
God.
word. Consonantal. It's like my Lincoln Continental. Okay. Julianne Hough. You ever heard of her? I have. She's an actor, an entrepreneur, an Emmy Award-winning choreographer. To watch her dance is really...
It is.
It's really energizing.
Yeah, and she has a wild backstory.
She really does. Almost like an Olympic athlete. Very similar. She, of course, was in Performance Footloose, Safe Haven, Rock of Ages, Dancing with the Stars. And then Burlesque, which we talk about. She has a new book out tomorrow called Everything We Never Knew. Check that out. It's out tomorrow. Hello.
No,
Please enjoy Julianne Hough.
He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert.
Hello, welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I want to say it's potentially a first where all 3 of us are in shorts.
Oh.
Short shorts. Can you remember a time?
That is probably a first.
It's summertime.
It's summertime. That's right.
I very rarely wear shorts.
You're right.
In my place of work.
Well, you're doing all this construction. Is that part of it?
Yeah, I was out there swinging a hammer.
You don't wear. Oh no, you do.
Tell me.
You don't wear tank tops a lot either.
No.
But you do wear tank tops, but you don't wear this kind of tank top, which is like a fashion top.
A classy.
Yeah.
A formal.
It's a whole new look. I feel special.
I know.
It's like new wardrobe.
In my formal
Should.
tank top. You know what this is really a signal of?
The comfort level.
This is our last interview before we take a little vacation.
Amazing.
And I'm feeling very summer vacation-y.
Me too.
Are you going anywhere fun?
I actually just came from Spain. I dropped my mom off on like a spiritual retreat in the south of France. She did a Kundalini Mary Magdalene retreat.
Tell us more about that.
There's a lot.
Okay.
That's a lot. I'll get into that in a
Okay.
second.
Right.
But the Spain thing, I just went because my mom was too scared to travel by herself. And I was like, you're not sabotaging this for yourself, Mom. I'll fly with you.
Oh, that's nice.
I'll drop you off and I'll fly back. And it was an excuse for me to go on a vacation.
And you went by yourself to Spain?
I did.
Oh my God. What cities did you go to?
I went to Madrid and then I went to Ibiza. And I always preface it with the non-party side. I went to the north.
Have you been to the party side?
I haven't. No.
Me either.
I have no desire to go
Same.
there.
No FOMO?
None. Zero.
Burning Man? You've been to that.
I haven't been to Burning Man either.
And any
I
fear
feel like
of missing out on it?
no.
Okay.
No.
We're similar.
I really don't have that desire. But I think if you go with the right people, it's one thing. I'm like, I don't want to feel trapped with everybody on drugs. That's going to scare me.
I'm actually shocked you haven't gone as guests of Sean and Nina's because they go.
They love it.
They love
Yes.
the party
Nina's
side?
Burning Man. Presumably, they've also been to Ibiza.
I don't know.
They
actually.
go everywhere.
Yeah, they do.
We have so many.
Overlappies?
Yeah, so many. Nina and Sean, obviously.
Yeah.
Who else?
Cameron, Britt Dean,
Oh.
Jed.
The whole crew.
Oh, Jedediah Jenkins.
Yeah, the best. And also, I have some fun, cute stories about Kristen.
Oh, you do? From
fun.
burlesque days?
Burlesque, but even before burlesque. She was the nicest person to me in Hollywood when I first moved out here.
First of all, the least shocking thing I've ever heard in my life. But
Of course.
second, I want to know the details.
Details are, I think I had just turned 18 and I moved to LA. And I hadn't been on Dancing with the Stars yet. So I was hustling. I was working central casting. I was going on auditions. I was living with 6 model roommates. They would wake up at like 3 p.m. and have Sour Patch Kids for breakfast and
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
and have like, $12,000 checks coming in the mail. And I'm like busting my ass every day. But I remember my model roommate, who I just looked up to so much, she always wore sundresses and Uggs. And it was like, she was fashion. It was like a thing.
Her signature look.
And so I got invited by this manager who I can't even remember his name now. And he was like, there's this Us Hot Hollywood party. Do you want to come? I was like, great. So I wore her Uggs and her sundress. I'm 5'3" and she's like 6'1", and curled my hair as tight as possible because I also am from Utah and that big curly hair is a thing. And so I got to the event and everybody's decked out. I think it was actually Veronica Mars. It was like for her show and she was being honored or something that night. Carmen Electra's dancing on the dance floor.
First glimpse at all of that.
Totally. I mean, this was
very memorable.
2006. There was no social media or anything. So my eyes were like, and this manager was walking me around and then he just was like, here, I'll be right back. So I was just standing there for probably 45 minutes.
Oh, no.
Just like waiting for this guy to come back.
Did the Uggs fit right? Were they too big?
They were way too big.
Yeah, I
The
had a
dress
hunch.
was like, I was swimming in it. And then all of a sudden I
Feel like
hear,
8.
hey, are you okay?
What?
Do you want to come sit with us?
No. Nice girl from the cafeteria.
Nice girl. Yeah.
That's
And so I turned around and I sat down with her and she just was like talking. She's like, you need to not trust this guy, this manager.
Oh,
the fact
wow.
that he left you here is not okay. Cut to 2010, we're doing burlesque together. And I told her that story.
Did you dump the manager? Or?
Oh, immediately.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Well, when
Okay.
Kristen says something, you must listen.
You do. And I'm a very impressionable person. So I was like, I should probably listen.
Oh, no, are you?
Not anymore. I used to be.
Okay, so I want to rewind before that moment, but also I just want to spend really quick. I was just with my mom. We were at the jazz festival. We're having a very mother to son bonding moment. And she says, Daxer, the thing I'm proudest of you, it's not any of these things you've accomplished or any money you've made. Anytime I meet someone that's worked with you, they take so much time to tell me how nice you are. And I said, well, you're one of the few people in the world that knows exactly what it's like then to be married to Kristen Bell, which is every single place I go, someone pulls me aside to tell me a story just like that.
That's awesome.
It's aspirational. Okay, you start off in Utah, though.
Yes.
Of course, as you must already be prepared. I'm going to be very interested in that.
Get in there.
Yeah, 45 minutes from Salt Lake-ish?
Yeah, I kind of bopped around Salt Lake a little bit. It was Sandy, Utah, then down to Provo, and then my dad moved up to Park City.
Have they come from other states?
Idaho, Utah, Colorado, that's the very Mormon hemisphere.
The Mormon Belt,
yeah,
whatever we'd call
exactly,
that.
the Mormon Belt.
Brigham Young country.
Exactly.
What did they do for a living? I mean, I vaguely know what your father did.
My dad was the president of a company called Nutraceutical for 25 years, vitamins, dietary supplements, but he also was like into politics.
President of the Republican
He was the
Party
chairman.
Chairman in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
And
great.
that was, when I was a baby, so I don't remember that era. And then he actually was getting back into it, I think, in the last couple of years.
Cool time to re-enter.
Which, that was like, what do we do? What do we do?
Yeah, it's bad enough how inundated we are with politics, but now we're going to have a family member
Yeah,
pursuing
exactly.
it. Yeah, but when I read that he was the chairperson of the Republican committee in Utah, I thought, is that a job or that's a volunteer situation?
I think it was volunteer.
So he did well, clearly, if he was at this other company.
Yeah, he did well, and the church was number one for him.
Right.
So service to God, service to Mormonism and the church. Then he had this job, and then he was really into politics, so he volunteered there. His work was definitely his life, for sure.
And was mom raised Mormon?
Mom was raised Mormon as
And
well.
dad was raised, or
yep,
he found
raised.
it? Okay.
Yeah, they were both raised Mormon.
So multi-generational. You have your older brother?
And then I have 3 older sisters.
Oh, wow.
What's the age gaps of all these folks?
Oldest sister's 11 years older than me. And then 9 years, 6 years. My brother's 3 years older. And then I'm the baby.
So the oldest sister's like an aunt almost.
I actually thought that I had 2 moms and that everybody did until I was about 6. My mom, she was a beautiful housewife, stay-at-home mom, did the whole thing, very to the book with
Looking
what
great.
you're supposed to do in the Mormon culture. But she was sick when she was pregnant with me, and she had a lot of her own mental health issues. And
Okay.
so my oldest sister took care of me a lot.
The transition into peers is interesting. Have you made that leap?
So interesting enough, I actually left home when I was 9
I know, and
to
I
live
wanna
with a Russian family.
Yes, so let's save
To
that
dance.
juicy tidbit.
I know. And then to London. So we'll obviously get there. But my experience as like a kid from 0 to 9, I just wanted to be like my sisters. My oldest sister was very much my mother figure. My dad, when he would be home, I was the baby. So he definitely gave me, I think, more attention than my other siblings. And then my brother, he was right above me. And so I wanted to be like one of the boys and hang out with him. My deepest wound is belonging. So I just wanted to be a part of so much.
All these older people.
Yes. And I think because my mom was always sick, I was by myself a lot. And so to be able to be with my older sisters and everything, that was definitely what I wanted.
Yeah. You know what's sweet is you're telling all this. It reminds me of one time we had a therapist on,
Gabor.
Mate.
I love, oh my gosh.
And he was asking Monica to say some stuff. And then at one point he said to her, do you know you're smiling while you tell me all this stuff?
Yeah, or it's like, why are you laughing?
And it was really
is it funny?
like this
Like,
profound moment. And I just already such a nice smile about
I
this
know.
delivery.
I can tell this is going to get so deep so fast. And it's all going to be delivered with a smile. With just a little like twinkle in the eye, you know?
Just like the slow fill up.
Oh my God. We're all so funny. I love it. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. This is great. Yeah, you're like, my mom was had a lot of mental health things and I just wanted to be like, and it's like, yeah, I guess.
Here
And
it
Dad was
goes.
around a lot.
Yeah.
Well, is this going to connect to Mary Magdalene?
Exactly.
Or whatever.
It all comes around. It does.
Okay, so you're a little girl. And when do you start dancing?
I mean, coming out of the womb.
Hold on, I have one quick question.
Yeah.
Your brother's obviously, I know very little about him other than he's a highly successful dancer and choreographer. I'm assuming the worst. If I'm patriarch in the Mormon church and I'm a CEO of a company and my son wants to be a dancer, did that go okay? Was Dad supportive of that?
It did. So my dad is the most adventurous, goofy, playful young kid at heart. And then there's this rub. There's always this contrast. And I think there's the pressure and then there's the soul.
Almost maybe the relief of the pressure.
Yeah. And so my whole family, on my mom's side, on my dad's side, they were dancers. My grandparents both danced on both sides.
Oh, yes, I did read that, all four of them.
My dad wanted to meet girls in college, and so went on to the ballroom team, and that's where he met my mom.
Wow.
Oh, so he danced and they met through dancing?
Yeah.
Oh,
my
then I'm
gosh.
totally on the wrong base.
It's interesting, too. Actually, Mormon culture and kids and stuff like that, they're very into the arts. I think my brother got a lot of bullying from other kids in school.
Right.
But we never experienced that in our family.
Okay, so your brother's dancing presumably first and the older sisters all dance. So you're going to dance, period.
Yeah. So my oldest sister was a ballet dancer. We followed in her footsteps. We were all dancing, singing. And I don't know what my first class was because my mom had the big red van. All the kids piled in and we would just go to lesson after lesson after lesson. And I was too young to be in any of them, but I would watch. And so I was very visual and I'd learn everything before I was ever even able to take the classes. Center Stage was the dance studio that kind of took us in as our home. It's very much that movie too.
Oh, really?
Love
Right?
that movie.
There's a movie called Center Stage?
Yes.
Oh yeah, dance, iconic, cult classic.
And is it vaguely based on that? Or there's many of those?
No. It was very New York ballet. This was in Orem. It was our home. It was where we learned how to dance. This is controversial as well, but being in Utah, there was only people that looked like me.
Yes.
And so the first black man that I ever saw was our dance teacher. He was a hip hop teacher and he was a ballroom dancer. And me and my brother were like, oh my gosh, like this guy
Infatuated.
completely.
Yeah.
And obviously that also says a lot too, putting him on a pedestal as well because he was so different. Rick Robinson is his name, Slick Rick.
Slick
And
Rick, beautiful.
Slick Rick.
It's the only nickname to have when you're named Rick.
He honestly was such an influential person in our lives. And we lived there basically at that studio. And then we used to have these dance world champions come in and teach maybe 3 or 4 times a year. And that was Corky and Shirley Ballas. They live in London, and that's how we got connected.
Okay, so they would visit. They also had a son, Mark.
I've known Mark and the Ballases since I was like 8.
And how frequently are you going to church? And does some of this dance training get you out of some of the church you would have to go to?
No.
No
This
way.
church was every Sunday, 3 hours long. And then there were family home evening on Mondays. And then there were special activities for the youth. But those were during the week, and yes, we would have
Sometimes
dance.
you miss them for
What's
dance.
family home evening?
It's actually a great concept. I love it. It's just every Monday night, it's game nights with the family.
That's so great.
Yeah.
There's so many of these amazing religious traditions that are so worth defending. It's really just when humans and men end up having power that it gets dicey, and then they're interpreting things and everyone, whatever.
Yeah. Calling the
Also-
shots for other people, not okay.
I want to preface all this by saying have many Mormon friends, have many Mormon listeners, love it. But we also have friends who left the church. And I just know for myself personally, I only had to go on the weekends when I was with my grandparents, and I could barely get through it.
Well, it's
Couldn't
also like
stand it.
silent. You go to church in the South and people are singing and clapping and
A
like,
lot of amens.
Amens.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
I'm an energy person. So I'm like, whoa, that feels so amazing. In Mormon church, or LDS, I should say, let me be more respectful, it is quiet. There's no clapping, but then you just hear the babies crying. And it's like, wait, it's just a lot. There's lots of kids.
And men and women, girls and boys are separated,
After the first hour. I've been out of it for a while, so I don't want to represent anything.
Right.
This is just your experience.
This is my experience, yeah. But I think they've changed it now. I think it's
Oh.
only 2 hours now, and I think it's much more mixed.
Okay. Did you take it all lock stock? Were you at all like, we do a lot of stuff in this world, or were you just completely unaware of it because you're so young?
It is what it was. I didn't know any different. I loved the social aspect. That was kind of how I was known as a kid, going into church and going and sitting on everybody's lap and giving everybody hugs at like 3.
Oh my God, you were
I
probably
was that
so
little,
cute.
the greeter. Clearly, I'm smiling as I'm saying that too.
Yeah.
But definitely, that's my nurturing attribute. Is I just want to make sure everybody's good, and
So it's like
that
the
was
seeds
very
for
much.
perfectionism too.
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Well, by the way, that's very much ingrained in the religion.
That's the part that seems oppressive, and it's on everyone's shoulders, but it does seem a little overweighted on the women's shoulders. I feel like the women are really supposed to present.
Well, it's like be perfect, but also you don't have a say. You need to follow the rules and obey and do everything that you can to make sure that your family is the best and most perfect so that you can serve God and your husband because he's the one in charge of providing.
What's the term?
Yeah. Deep exhale.
I know.
There's a term for it.
Trad wife.
No.
Oh,
There's a term
'cause
for
that
the
is-
dad in the house. They were using it a bunch in Under the Banner. Not
Of
in
Heaven,
the
yeah.
book, but in the show.
The priesthood.
Priesthood.
Yes.
The dad goes by a priesthood in the house.
Oh gosh, I'm going to botch this because
Yeah.
again,
and I don't want
I
to
left
put you
so
in a
much.
position where you feel like you're
No, but
offending
it's
anyone
part
you
of
grew
what
up
it
with.
is. It's like the men hold the priesthood, which
Yeah.
is something I think they get ordained to do.
Yeah, they're kind of like the priest of their house-ish.
Their house, and then men in the church are the ones that are able to have the direct communication and talk to God.
Have you seen this trend on Instagram of these women? They're usually wearing lingerie of some sort and they look gorgeous. They're perfect looking. And then their kid asks for a peanut butter and jelly and then they make the peanut butter and jelly from scratch. Do you know about this?
No.
Okay, it's like this
And these
whole
are sincere,
thing.
or this is a performative?
At first, you watch it and you think it's fake and it's real.
Oh.
But a lot of these women are in the Mormon church and it's sort of a way to lure people into this. Lure isn't great, but how do I say this? Show the appeal of it. They make the peanut butter from peanuts. Like you see the whole thing.
I'd like to go there. Do they do a gluten-free bread ever?
They make the bread from scratch. So if they know how to make it gluten-free, probably.
Sourdough. Let's go.
It's really interesting.
I want to
It
see that. Will
is.
you forward me that?
Yeah,
It
I
is.
will.
Okay, so mom and dad are married till 9. At 10, they get divorced?
Yeah, like 9, 10.
Correct me if I'm wrong. This is very unconventional.
Yeah, my mom had an affair. She was told she should have her head chopped off. It was pretty aggressive that she was never going to be with her family again. It was very hard for my mother. And already having the previous 10 years of my life with my mom, she struggled with certain things. To then have that and then have the loss of the family, it was many, many, many years of my mom suffering.
It's lucky she's alive.
It is. And just the depression of feeling like she ruined her family and, you
And that
know,
she's bad.
She's bad and she's
She
an
was-
adulteress.
She was probably treating whatever mental health issue she was struggling with.
It was truly
Regulating.
connection and loneliness. My dad was working. And look, obviously, with all the work we do, we don't blame, we see, we have an understanding. There's always a why, but it's everybody's experience. And so that was my mom's, so that was my dad's.
And is that one of the only ways out, I'd imagine? Like a clean out? You can get a divorce if your wife cheated on you, probably.
I mean, you can get a divorce. It's just more of the image and the looking down on and the shame and the guilt that you're going to receive, which that can be way more toxic to feel those things than actually have like a you're not allowed to.
Okay, so they got divorced, and now your life takes a really interesting and unique turn. You'll be one of the only people we've interviewed with this story. So you've met this family that comes into town to teach, and I didn't know about the Russian family. So what happens first?
So the Russian family was first. I was dancing with somebody else, and they spotted me, and I went and lived in Florida for 3 months. I didn't go to school.
And you were 9?
Guys, this is so weird.
Hold on a second.
Like,
Hold on a second. We have a perfect opportunity right now because Delta's 9. Can you imagine us going like, okay, Delta, have fun?
I kind of can.
You
weirdly.
can?
A little
Okay.
bit. Were you like kind of precocious?
I had an X factor. I had like a sensuality about me as a kid, just independent. I knew what I wanted. I was very direct and on it. It's funny. I don't know what I want now, but I did then.
Sure,
you know what I mean?
sure.
Or more so. And so I just was very clear and direct. I want this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And I was just an achiever.
Well, I was going to say, it makes sense that when you were younger, it was very clear to you because these were all things that ultimately would garner great approval from all the people you wanted to know you were a good girl. And as you get older, you're like, whose approval am I going after now?
Oh, I'm like, is this really only an hour and a half? I'm like, do we have 8 hours?
It could be as long as you need it to be.
Yeah, it becomes an interesting question once you remove that part of the motivation.
Totally. Well, and also with all my sisters, that's all what their dreams were. Was that ever really my dream, or was it theirs?
Yeah.
And did I
Yes.
live into theirs and achieve everything that they wanted?
And wanted to be their peer. And if you
Exactly.
achieve this thing, and then even that's misguided because actually it's harder to like you if you achieve the dream.
Yeah.
No shit.
Like,
Yeah.
ironically, the outcome's not even what you think it's going to be.
Exactly.
Ugh. You needing to be a good girl, obviously, as you're saying, the perfectionism is built into that world. But also, was it because your mom was sick? Were you feeling like
I
you
could be
needed
good
to?
enough that mom would be happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like mom was struggling and I was the baby in the family, so I was at home a lot. And so if I could make mom happy or make sure she feels better, I've been in survival since I was 3. Not that I'm special and unique. Most people have a story like that in the sense that we are all surviving and then we have to relearn and delayer all of that.
Sounds like you've been to the Hoffman Institute.
I actually haven't.
This is great. I'm ascribing all these things that our mutual friends do,
Yeah.
but you don't do them. I kind of like it. You're
You know-
kind of punk rock.
Punk rock.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I do other things for
Okay,
sure.
We'll discover them.
Yeah, we will.
But back to Delta. So yes, I could see being misled by Delta's friendliness. You can drop her anywhere. Within an hour, she's in love with someone,
Yeah.
crying that we're leaving. So I could be like, yeah, she'll go down to Florida. She'll be fine. But at the same time, and no,
Right.
9. So you went to Florida. And what was
Yeah.
that like? And were you fully by yourself?
Fully by myself. I lived with the Russian family. They also would come to the studio and train.
You've
and
met
then,
them 5 times?
Yeah, a few times. Yeah, pretty much.
And they said,
Yeah.
just come with us.
I went there. I danced with their son. He was 12. I was 9. And then they had a 3-year-old. And so they were at work all day.
Oh my
The
God.
son was at school, and I took care of the
Oh, you
3-year-old.
were an au pair.
Pretty much. A 9-year-old au pair. And so, and I remember the first night coming from Utah as a Mormon, we went to the pool in the apartment complex, and all of them got naked.
Because they're Russian.
I mean, I don't
I
know.
guess.
But they all just got naked and jumped in the pool like it was nothing. And that was the first time,
You
other
saw-
than my mom or my sisters, I'd seen a male.
You saw the patriarch.
The-
The
yeah,
Russian patriarch.
yeah.
The Russian bear.
I don't think this is because of Russian. I think
No, I
something-
just like saying
no, no,
Russian
This is
a
very
lot.
wrong.
Well, even just the ballroom world culture is very, dancer world is also very open. So that was that experience. I was very shocked at the beginning.
Were you scared?
For sure. But again, I
And
was
would
like,
you-
I have this opportunity and I need to do it great. That happened for 3 months, the training.
Do you have a nickname?
I have a lot.
Is there one that you would allow me to call you?
I don't know.
Because your name is very long.
Jules is probably the most common.
Okay, great.
Juju,
I think you have to
nieces and
earn it a
nephews.
little more. I could sense that.
Yeah, it didn't go well. But I was just thinking for the ease of conversing, your name is so formal to me. And that's my own hang up.
You know what's funny actually about that? Julianne was always my name growing up, and then I changed it to Jules. My Instagram is Jules because I was like, I need to not be so formal, right?
Yeah.
In the last couple years, I'm like, I like Julianne.
Yeah.
Okay.
I kind of want
Okay,
Julianne
Julianne.
again.
I'll
you know?
stick with
Yeah,
Julianne.
I don't know.
That's
There's-
your name.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. But you can call me Jules.
No, I'm going to call you Julianne.
I just guilted you into calling me Julianne.
When I imagine being 9 and being stuck in a stranger's house, raising a 3-year-old, I'm trying to think what coping mechanisms would pop up, and I feel like disassociating would be like
1,000%.
Yeah, would you kind of just be like watching your body move through this environment, but being off in some other?
Yes, but dance was my superpower. It was the thing that I could connect my body to.
And how many hours a day?
5 o'clock, I would get picked up, and then I would train till like 9 or 10.
So then you were in your happy place, and then you just had to get through that next day.
Yeah.
Was the goal for you and the son to be dance partners?
Yeah, and we were. And that was only like 3 months. It wasn't like a big stint. And then I came back.
We skipped over a lot. You asked your parents, can I go? And they were
Guys,
like,
I'm
sure.
still trying to figure out how this
Oh,
happened.
I ended up in,
Yeah. They were just like, I guess
in a
it's
Tolstoy
fine.
novel for 3 months.
I guess so. My parents were going through a lot. They were divorcing.
Did dad keep the house or did mom?
They got rid of the house.
Okay.
We ended up getting 2 apartment complexes next door to each other across the hall. I lived with my mom and my sister, Catherine, and then my dad and my brother and my sister, Maribeth, lived together. And then my oldest sister was married already.
Okay, so they were going through a lot, so they were kind of like, yeah, get out of here.
I don't think it was that. I think I was very passionate and I
Yeah.
wanted those kinds of things. And they were going through a lot. So maybe this is a good opportunity for us to deal with our shit.
Well, if I'm them, I'm like, that'd be a great distraction.
I have lots of stuff going on in my life right now, and I don't have kids. And I'm like, how on earth do people do this?
Yeah.
It's a lot. And
Oh my
like,
God,
you're
yeah.
responsible for so many different people. I want that eventually, but I'm like, man, that's a lot. You have to subtract other things in your life so that you can be present. And they just didn't have that space.
So you go home. How long are you home before the next?
I moved to Vegas with my mom for a few months, got kicked out. My
by
dad.
her or you and mom got
Well,
booted from a residence?
No. By my mom and my stepdad. I went and lived with my dad for a little bit. Yeah, that's the whole.
If I drank and you drank, one time we'd be drinking and I'd hear that story.
Yeah, Britt says
sure.
we're going to get wine soon, and so I'll get to hear it.
For sure. And then you need 5 more days. No, just kidding.
So mom married the guy she had an affair with?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I then lived with my dad for a little while. And then my brother actually went to London first. And he was there for 3 months beforehand. And he was dancing with a girl out there. And then living with the Ballases, best friends with Mark. And then Mark's dance partner got too tall for him. And my brother was like, well, why don't you dance with my sister?
This is such a fascinating world that the parents, they have kids living at their house so the kid can have
Yeah.
a dance partner.
I know.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Totally foreign world to me. And are you pumped for that?
So much so.
Because you're going to be with Derek. Because if you were in Florida with your brother, it would have been a totally different experience.
Maybe, yeah. It was only supposed to be for 3 months. We were going to go until the big competition in Blackpool, which was like March. And I went in January. It was supposed to be 3 months and we were supposed to go home. And I ended up staying for 5 years
Whoa.
5 years
Oh my God.
in London.
in London.
How frequently were you coming back to Utah to see your family?
3 times a year. So we would come spring break, the summer break, and then winter break.
I'm almost shocked you don't have an English accent.
I did.
At that age,
Yeah.
you would pick it up so quick. Were you going to school there?
Yeah, I went to performing arts school there.
So fake school.
Yeah. Oh, no. We literally learned nothing.
yeah, I hope not.
It was a full
shouldn't have to
vocational
do- shouldn't have to do
school.
both.
I mean, honestly, too, it was kind of brilliant because we would train all night when we would get home from school and compete on the weekends and then come into school and be exhausted. I would have fake tan up to my face and then like red nails. And the first half of the day was all the academics. And so I would just sleep. Everybody would just do my homework for me.
Wow.
And like by the time lunchtime came, I was awake and I did all the singing and dancing and performing.
And track the joy for me out of 10, we'll say. 10 is full elation doing this. When it started, you loved it. Does it stay? Do you love?
No.
When does it change?
10 to 15 are super influential years. Puberty happens. And then working so hard. I had a scholarship to be at my school. My parents didn't make a lot of money. My dad was successful, but through the divorce, he also had lots of stuff. He had to sell his stock and then lost all of his money in the company that he had worked so hard for. There was all sorts of stuff. I got a dress sponsor. That was kind of strange. I would go and dance for that person.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
There's a
And
few
so
people
there's
in this. Not.
space.
I don't like the
It
guy
is.
that got butt naked in front of a 9-year-old girl.
That wasn't his daughter.
Yes. That's really bad.
Yeah, that's not ideal.
I know we blew past.
But I do have to grant them, like, Germans are naked in the park. So I don't want to assume
It could be a
that,
cultural thing. I was in Spain just recently. I was like, free the nips. There's just a cultural thing there.
everyone's
you
got
know?
their shirt on.
Yeah.
Have you been to a German park? That's the most
No.
amazing thing.
No.
In the middle of a city. And there'll be
Really?
a whole family. They're naked, dick, balls, the whole nine.
yeah.
Grandma's nude.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
Okay, so the enjoyment level.
Obviously, I was so excited to go. I wanted to be the best, and I was competing. And I went from being talented but not refined to being the best. I was the youngest and only American to win everything that I did. I loved winning.
Yeah.
Oh,
Winning's
yeah.
so
It was
fun.
like, it was everything.
You're dedicated your entire life in your social life, in your family life. You better win because that's what all this is
Yeah,
about.
completely. And if I didn't, then repercussions.
And some self-flagellation and hatred.
It's funny, not so much even internally. It was external. If I didn't do the best, then I definitely heard about
From
it.
your parents or from
From the coaching.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. That was their job. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not going to comment on this because you have relationships, but I also imagine if your coaches are your partner's parents, I imagine you're going to get more notes than the kid.
And they're taking care of you.
Yeah. You don't have to say anything about that, but I can just see that that's kind of a dicey.
This is all
You want
complicated.
neutral.
It's all very
coaching, I think.
complicated. They were like my parents.
Yeah.
And I went from having one set of parents who were very specific in one way to a whole set of other parents that were very specific in another way and complete opposites. And so it was very confusing. From 10 to 15, I changed my personality. I was that little nurturer greeter to super dark, do not speak, just get on with it.
Really?
Yeah. And then, of course, you're going through puberty and hormonal and what am I supposed to do? What am I allowed to do?
Who am I?
Who am I? And so at 15, that was when I decided I need to go home. I think I want to be more like my family, but I am taking on all of the attributes of this family.
Interesting.
And I knew I wanted to do more.
Now, I also have this stereotype of dancers in general. So I'm trying to parse out what is the culture shock of England, what is the culture shock of the Ballases being your parents, but also the dancing gets so regimented and so militaristic. There's so much pain you're performing through.
When you're in it, you don't know that.
Right, but it does
Yeah.
seem to have this kind of ubiquitous effect on dancers where they do get more and more serious and more kind of what you're describing towards the end.
Well, and also obsession
Like
with
good
perfection.
soldier.
Well, disciplined.
Perfect as a kid, Mormon church, it just adds to that. The discipline of a dancer, we're athletes, but we're also artistic athletes. And so you have to.
Subjective and objective.
Yes, exactly. And so then you're just trying to like do the best you can. And the obsession with perfection is wild. I mean, we sit in front of a mirror and perfect our body. That is literally a dancer's life. And then you get other people judging body, dancing, ability, magnetism, all the different things. So if you can win, then you're good enough, I guess. With the wink.
So you pulled the plug.
Which, by the way, let me tell you the culture shock really, because I know we're getting heavy, but the funny part was I was so sad when I went to London and I was disappointed that there were not horse-drawn carriages and people in like big dresses and the,
Yeah. Wasn't
you know,
the 1800s.
exactly. That's what I thought London was.
Elizabethan London.
I was like, wait, people are just normal here and have cars. I'm so sad.
They're just more emotionally repressed
Yeah.
than even us in Utah, which is saying a lot.
Oh, man.
So when you got home, then what was that transition like? It's crazy you're not like schizophrenic,
Insane.
like
Yeah,
induced
for
schizophrenia.
real.
I do a lot of work to not be.
Wait, really quick, before we leave England, did
Yeah,
you have
yeah.
a boyfriend ever in England?
No,
Never.
never.
No time for
Never.
Friends?
My best friend on the planet. She's still my best friend to today. We were actually too young to be at our school. We were both 10. And so we had to repeat the first year. Her name is Maud.
Oh, perfect. name
Well,
for-
she was like, my name's Maud. And I was like, Maud? And she's like, no, Maud. And I was like, Maude? And she's like, no, Maud. And so I still to this day call her Maude.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, she's my bestie.
Were you ever running around London with her? Did you have fun? Oh,
No.
God damn it, Julianne.
No.
Was she also a dancer?
Dancer, singer, actor. So she ended up being on Vikings for a long time.
I thought you were about to say Vicodin. She ended up being on Vicodin.
I thought you were about to say she ended up being Maud Apatow.
I know, right? Can you imagine? But yeah, she was on Vikings. She was an actress, and then she ended up leaving the business. And she's a theta healer, meditation teacher, yoga instructor.
Right. Dealing with this same experience.
Exactly.
When you go back to Utah, do you ever go to a public school?
Yes. So I went to Park City High School, which was horrific. It was also the rich kids in Park City, and it was an experience for sure. I was kind of now the exotic one because I had left England and I had a short pixie cut hairdo. My whole existence from 10 to 15 was overtly sexualized. Like, I just had this exuberance about me. And it was before Mean Girls came out. And I remember I ate lunch in the bathroom. I got invited to parties that were abandoned houses. I went on a choir trip and came back, and there was a rumor that I gave everybody blowjobs. The guys that I thought were my friends would be like, hey, do you want to go out into the parking lot? And I'm like, wait, what? I'm so confused. And I was the biggest prude because I didn't do anything.
No social life at all.
No, I exuded that, but I'd never done anything. It was very confusing.
Yeah, we've actually had a few guests that have had this trajectory. And then so it's really fascinating to see what the result is. The two generic paradigms I would suggest is there are these kids who were in the Disney world and their sexuality was very much oppressed. And when they break free, they get overtly sexual. And then like Natalie Portman, who was very early sexualized and objectified, she then reclaimed it by going the other way.
Yeah.
And even now we'll say in the interview, I almost regret what a...
Flip-flop.
Yes, like I'm actually now learning to be sexual again as an adult without any of the baggage.
Completely.
So
Same.
over-sexualized on stage in public, and then your reaction was to be very prude, if we can use it. Do we use that word?
Yeah, prude? I don't know. I mean,
It's hard to keep up with the list.
You weren't
Is
sexual.
prude shaming a thing?
yeah.
Yeah, so when you were on stage during that 10 to 15 time and it was very sexualized, did you feel
No,
it in your body, or was it just
total
a
freedom.
performance?
No, it wasn't conscious. It was just freedom. It's how I moved my body. Having a partner was a little different. You had to connect, but obviously I was super safe. That was my dance partner.
I can understand you not getting aroused during that, but man, how's Mark
He's
handling
being
that?
professional.
Well, I'm just impressed. Can I tip my hat if he's being professional? It's like tons of romantic dancing over and over again as a teenager.
We are teenagers, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that world is just interesting too. It's all political. It's like other dance partners would sleep with that partner so that they could dance together, and this person would like go sleep with this judge. It's very, very risque.
Oh, my Lord.
I know, it's a whole world.
Okay, it's a follow-up question on Monica's. It also reminds me of Pamela Anderson, a lot of trauma, shut down her sexuality, but then when got invited out to LA and started doing photo shoots, clicked into a character and could own it while she was in that character and enjoy it. When you were in that zone, could you be present in it and enjoy it and then just click out of it? Like, is it good to feel your powers?
100%. When I'm thinking about now, like when I came out to LA and got on to Dancing with the Stars, a little dissociative. I didn't even know what was happening. I just did. It's so funny. My first dance partner was Apollo Ono, and everybody was like, oh my gosh, are they dating? I was like, never even thought about it.
Right.
But I bet Apollo did.
I don't think so.
Stop putting this on these men. They're being professional. I know you can't relate.
I cannot relate. I just simply can't relate.
Oh my God.
Okay, so high school was a beatdown.
Yeah, it was. Moved back to Vegas, went to school there, got kicked out again.
Did mom stay with the gentleman?
Yeah.
Still?
So
I like that.
Yeah, I got to kind of applaud that. That's generally not the trajectory. Okay, so you went to Vegas. Yeah, you did some more training in Vegas as well, right?
yeah, so I went to a charter school, also didn't learn anything, and did that for a little bit. And I was a theater major there, so I was like really wanting to act, and I was like, I don't want to dance anymore. So I quit. I taught. And I would earn money, and then I would save money. And like I knew I was going to go to LA, and I wanted to act and sing.
Right. Because I had a friend who was on this trajectory to some degree back in Michigan. And boy, if you think the options are narrow for an actor, for a dancer, they're so narrow to make a living. Was any of that on your mind?
I feel almost a little grateful for my ignorance because I just always knew I would figure it out. I never thought, oh, you can't have a career as a dancer. I knew if I stayed in London, my life would only be ballroom dancing, and I knew I didn't want that. But again, going back to that whole, is this really even my dream? My third sister wanted to be an actress. She was obsessed with Goldie Hawn. She was like the comedian in our family. She wanted to be that. My second sister wanted to be a country music star. My third sister wanted to be a Broadway
She
star.
wanted to write a thriller. Because then this one started to seem calculated.
So I went to LA. I was on Dance with the Stars. I had a country career. I've been on
Right.
Broadway. I've done movies. I just kind of did
You've
all their
adopted
dreams.
all
Yeah.
their dreams.
When I did country music, I did it because my sister wanted it. I've been a performer my whole life, but I haven't been an artist. Only in the last few years I've had to find that artistry because I've just been a performer. And I'm a great performer. I can whip it out anywhere, and anything I try, I can pretty much do to a degree and get away with it, but it's all outward.
I think you and Kristen would have a
I
very
was
great
just
conversation.
thinking that. I
yeah.
was just
Yeah.
thinking that. But I don't know if that's nice. I mean, not nice, but I don't know if we should say that.
No, I think she would say like she.
I love that I'm a performer too.
Yeah.
And it's
And
very
it's so rare to be
Yeah.
like you two. I call my wife acting AI. If you direct her, it's impossible. She does the exact same movements, so continuity's perfect. So you can cut
Yeah.
between any angle you ever
Yeah.
got of her. She's passable every take. And yeah, there's a level of professionalism and perfectionism that she has that is very rare.
And it's amazing for other people to work with because we nail it every time.
Yes, so dependable. When I had days of directing where I knew she was in all day long, I'm like, well, this will be an easy day.
Totally.
You can throw anything at her.
But I think, yes, I assume like you, she's listening to someone sing and she's like, can I do that? So it's a lot of mimicry. It's a very specific thing. And I think as she got into her career, like, oh, well, what do I want to do? What story am I trying to tell? All
Yeah.
these things. I think she'd be fine with that. We'll see.
Guys, I just
See
had
after
this
the
like
fact.
revelation of my favorite movies the other day. Somebody asked me and I was like, what are my favorite movies? And then I was like, this is telling.
What are they?
You ready?
Yeah.
Memoirs of a Geisha,
Oh, sure.
Wow.
The Green Mile, Tina Turner, What's Love Got to Do with It?
Incarceration's a theme right now.
And like being the perfect thing, it's not Pretty Woman like everybody else. I don't know.
It's telling. Yeah, and mine too are like naughty boys trying to get away with something.
Or all the movies that I was in was always a girl running away at the beginning of the movie or on a train, on a bike, on a
that's
bus.
funny.
Trying to
Yeah.
escape. So you make it through high school. Do you graduate?
I do graduate, not sure how.
I want to take 2 minutes to
Yeah.
talk about. I know that your brother's such a huge part of your story, or at least from the outside, it would appear so. Is he the closest thing you have to stability and safety?
Definitely. But what was interesting about our time in London is we had very different experiences. We both kind of knew, but didn't talk about it. Sweep everything under the rug. Everybody's just fine. Let's just keep going kind of mentality.
Yes.
And so I came to LA first and was on Dance with the Stars. And then Derek came the second season that I was on, and Mark as well.
Also, we glazed over it, but Mark and Derek and Julianne had a group called TB1G.
2B1G.
You can figure that out, right?
I don't want to think about
Two
it.
boys, one girl.
Oh, wow.
That was before Two Girls, One Cup.
Yeah. It does a little bit harken, unfortunately.
Oh, God.
Oh, also one thing I had to bring up that I
Yeah.
totally missed is when you were 13, you were in Harry Potter and the Philosopher's
Oh,
Stone.
I
I have to say that for Monica.
I was 11. I was 11.
First
Yeah.
movie.
So you're having a complicated time there, but are you so pumped to end
my-
up at Terrence Posner?
That was also a beautiful escape. Our whole school got the job because they needed extras from stage schools. I was Gryffindor, by the way. Hell yeah.
Obviously.
Congrats.
Obviously, Derek was Ravenclaw. Mark was Hufflepuff. It was amazing. I definitely stole a scarf and got caught.
Are you Gryffindor in real life?
Yes. I read all the books.
real life?
Yeah, in real life. I read all the books. I was so obsessed. When this happened, I was like, oh my gosh. And like I've told this story 100 times. I've talked to Daniel Radcliffe about this. I had a crush on him, like whatever. And I remember I took, so Corky Ballas used to have this collection of Beanie Babies. And I remember I took, clearly I'm a stealer. I took the Valentino
Oh,
that
the
a
one
price
with the
tag?
Baby,
heart?
with the one with the heart.
I know it.
The white one. And I wrote Daniel Radcliffe a love note and I gave it to him for Valentine's Day.
No,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
are
Actually, I
ballsy.
gave
Very
it to his PA. I don't know if he ever got it.
I wonder how many Terrence received on that Valentine's Day.
So
If
many Beanie Babies.
His whole trailer was covered.
He's the kindest human.
Yeah.
And a real artist.
Yeah, really great.
So when you go to LA, are you 18?
18.
You're not here terribly long before you get on Dancing with the Stars?
Yeah, I moved literally a week after my 18th birthday in July and basically just doing the central casting jobs and just trying to make money.
Meeting Kristen at events.
Yeah. And then in, I think it was like November, December, the Dancing with the Stars tour came around and they wanted background dancers.
Okay.
And so I was like, well, this is working out perfect because I can't pay my rent anymore and I need to do something. So I hadn't really danced.
I was going to say, did you feel rusty?
Not really. Now I'm rusty, but I picked it right back up. And so I got on the tour, and while I was on the tour, Joey McIntyre was on the tour, and his dance partner, Kim Johnson, got injured within the first few shows.
This is what you're praying for as an
You
understudy.
always want an injury.
And so I ended up filling in for Kim and was doing all the background dancing and company dancing too. So I was popping. Dancing with the Stars producers came to the show and they were like, we want you to be on the show. And I said no because I wanted to act and I wanted to sing. And I was like, I don't want to be on a reality show. I want to be taken seriously.
Oh, I had the same
And
thing.
so a few days later, Irving Azoff's company had another subdivision called Frontline Management, and they did a bunch of touring. And they were producing the tour. Somebody also said that I sang. And so I sang for Irving and Jared Paul at like a venue in Nashville. And I said I wanted to sing. And they said, great, what do you want to do? And I was like, country music.
Right.
Oh.
Just throwing a dart at the...
Exactly.
Okay.
They signed me, did not know. I literally was like, cool. And then I called my dad. I was like, what's a manager? What are they going to do? I don't know. And then Jared convinced me to do Dancing with the Stars. He was like, you need to do this. There's 20 million viewers a week watching this show because that was before streaming or social media or anything.
Huge.
It was a 5-year contract. And I was like, I'm not signing a contract for 5 years. That's 10 seasons and 5 years. I was like, this isn't what I want to do. I said, I'm going to get out of this contract in 2.5 years. I said that to the producers, Conrad Green. I love him. He's now the producer on the show that I'm back on. He's like, okay, little girl. In 2.5 years when I was on the show, I got out of the contract.
No
Wow.
way. How did you get out of the contract?
There was a California clause or something,
Okay.
whatever that was. It was like, if somebody doesn't want to be a part of something anymore, you can let them
Honor
out
that?
or something.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
They changed all of the contracts after that, and nobody can get out of them now. Doing my first couple seasons, I won both of them.
Did you enjoy that?
Of course I did. It was novelty because, like, the first of anything. I love winning. And also, I was so in the competitive zone for that season that the minute it was done and I won and I actually released a single, I went to the airport and everybody knew me.
Yeah.
And so it was scary. People would grab me and be like, oh my gosh, come meet my family. I was like, what's happening? But it also felt like love.
Yeah, you were
course.
getting a lot of
Yeah.
approval.
And I was like, oh, this is amazing.
Yeah, you're greeting everyone as they enter church, basically,
Yeah,
everywhere you go.
exactly.
Can I ask you a hard question?
Sure.
Did you ever feel when you were winning, were you just like, I'm amazing? Like, did you get high on yourself a little bit during
I
that
hope so.
time? I don't see how you could not, personally.
Actually, no. I didn't think the opposite. I was just elated with joy when it would
Wow.
happen.
Okay, so your ego was managed.
Managed or just unaware of it. And I was not social.
Yeah, do we have a boyfriend yet?
So going back, I ended up dating and engaged actually to this guy named Zach Wilson.
That you met at the charter school?
No, so I met him when I was like 6 years old at Center Stage. He was a dancer, singer. He was 6 years older than me, but he had gone on a Mormon mission when I was in high school. And right as I was finishing high school, like in May, he came back. And we started dating May to July, and then I moved to LA. We ended up getting engaged in December, right before I went on the Dancing with the Stars tour.
How into FDLS are you at this? I didn't say that right.
LDS.
LDS.
Yeah.
Are you still ascribing to, I've got to get married before I have sex and all that?
Okay, so when I was in London, we didn't go to church at all. When I moved back, in order to fit in Utah, you needed to be Mormon, go to seminary, have friends, because that was the community.
Of course.
I just fell back into it, but I wasn't actively committed to it. I just kind of did whatever I needed to do and malleable to what I needed to be for the environment.
Well, because the generic thought I have is if you're all in on that and I'm 18 or 19 and I'm in love with someone, I'm pretty motivated and incentivized to get married.
I wasn't motivated by sex. It was motivated for me, and obviously the cliche and stereotype of a woman is to feel safe.
Right.
And so I think that on top of just my childhood in general, safety, 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 and this person feels stable. And consciously, I'm not thinking that, but he was definitely a very stable, beautiful person.
Put together.
Yeah.
And how long did that last?
It lasted a few months, and then I was like, I know, I don't want to live in Utah and have kids. And he ended up marrying my best friend when I was 6 years old.
Oh.
And they have 4 kids.
They're happy as hell.
Yeah, that's the life that he wanted, but also that we could have had. And honestly, maybe there would have been a lot more stability or space to create that.
You found the gumption to break
Yeah,
it off.
and
That was probably hard as hell.
No.
You're a very interesting mix of people pleaser and yet very assertive and advocate for yourselves. I'm not going to do this show. I'm going to get out in 2.5 years. I can break off this engagement.
At 18, I had a very like, fuck you, watch me attitude. And that is what drove me from 15 to 25.
I'm driving the boat now.
But that was very empty because I would finish something and then I'd be like, on to the next thing, on to the next thing, never celebrate anything. And when I look at my life, I'm like, holy shit, I have done so many things.
Yeah.
And I am so proud of myself, but also I had so much freaking gumption.
Do you feel like you missed most of the stuff you've done?
Totally. And then when I started my healing journey and process and everything, I lost all motivation. And I was like, oh my God. Because I wasn't driven to prove myself to anybody else because they still had the power. And so as that happened and switched, I was like, I don't know what I want to do. And I'm like, man, I wish I was 18 and that convicted little shit. I was so sassy and on it, but completely unaware of anything around me.
Okay, so 2007, you joined Dancing with the Stars. You win season 4 with Apollo. You win season 5 with Helio,
Elio Castroneves.
a race car driver. Season 6, you get with
Adam
Adam Carolla. That
Carolla.
doesn't end well.
No, but it actually did because we got kicked off and then I was about to release my debut album. Timing was great.
I was going to ask that. When you get kicked off the show, or you get eliminated, not kicked off, do you have to hang around and watch all the other performances?
It's different now, but that season, you stopped getting paid when you got kicked off. And then if they wanted you back on, it was like SAG rate or whatever after.
Minimums.
Yeah, if they came and did a performance. And so because they knew I was coming out with a record, I just didn't ever go back that season.
Okay. So the record comes out. It charts and everything. It's very promising.
Yeah, it was the #1 album. It was on the top 100 Billboard at #3. I went on tour with Brad Paisley.
He's a sweet motherfucker, right?
Yes, Brad and Kimberly, they're amazing.
Yeah, I spent a couple days with them once at someone's house, and I thought he was about as nice as they come.
They're so good.
So, again, I'm wondering if I'm you, how I'm figuring out what the fuck I'm doing in life. I'm like winning on this show. 20 million people know me. I'm famous in the airport. Now I have a country album. Is that what I'm doing?
Moved to Nashville. I was touring. I did the record. I used to describe it as the stars just felt like they were aligned. Life was working in my favor, and I thought I was just like flowing. Everything felt very easy. I didn't feel challenged or pushed until the country career. That is my greatest regret.
It is?
What is?
Yeah.
That you didn't like...
Finish.
Okay, so what happened?
If I'm not winning and #1, I'm losing. And so, of course, I was totally comparing myself to
Shania
none
Twain.
other than Taylor Swift.
Oh my God.
Oh, boy.
Not an easy feat.
It's like me and Jordan's teammate.
She was coming up right before me. And then it was like Carrie Underwood. And then Kelly Pickler and I would kind of battle for third spot.
She's great.
She's amazing. I love her.
Taylor.
I had this beast inside of me that was like, if I'm not #1, I'm losing.
Really quick, I don't want to do it or it's too embarrassing.
It's embarrassing. And then also because I didn't,
Jesus
I know
Christ.
exactly. You guys, this is not my mindset today.
Yeah.
Let me just
But yeah,
preface
there's an audience of imaginary people that you're basing all decisions on, like embarrassment in front of this theoretical group. Because
And
no one in your
also-
life is like, oh, you're only the 3rd biggest country star. People
No.
are like blown away.
completely.
But also Taylor at that point, what era?
It was
Don't
her first
get
album.
sidetracked, Monica.
It was her first album.
Because this is important. Because now, if you said I was competing with Taylor Swift, you do sound
Insanity.
crazy. But her debut album and stuff, like no
Yeah.
one knew who she was going to end up being.
But yeah, so that was that era. And I didn't have any guidance around me, too. Yes, my manager was there, but I shifted management to somebody who was more country. Nobody was challenging and really looking out for me. I was the one making the decisions, which At 19, just because I sounded like I knew what I was talking about, I had no clue.
This is a
But
through
would
line.
you, I'm that way too, but I would take some personal responsibility, and that is that I wasn't availing myself to any guidance. I wanted you to believe I belonged there so much that to admit I could use some help would be exposing myself as not belonging there.
When I think about how I could have done things differently, I think it was more, I wanted the 7-layer cake, but I was only at number 2. And I wanted what was at the top. I wanted it immediately. And so if it wasn't happening, I would say, I think I'm done with this. I don't want to do this anymore. And they would listen. Versus, are you sure? Let's
Yeah.
talk about why. And then with parents or family, I didn't engage with them. I didn't bring them along the journey. I just did what I did. There was no support system that was like, you're a human, let's talk through this, versus me being like, I know what I'm talking about. I don't want to do this anymore.
Was there any part of you that was punishing your family? Because I could imagine myself being like, you guys sent me away and I wasn't a priority, and look at me.
I didn't feel that way until 25. I didn't even really remember my childhood from 0 to 10. I was proving myself from 10 to 15. Those
Gotcha.
people. I almost got a little, not brainwashed, but a little brainwashed into thinking that my family was less than. It was more that I didn't have the respect, that I wanted their opinions, which is so heartbreaking for me to even say, because that is disgusting on so many levels. But that was the truth at the time. I didn't respect what they would tell me.
Well, I say one of my biggest sources of shame is that I wanted a dad to say, good job, son, you did it. But I wanted to respect that person so that
Yeah.
that compliment really
Was
meant
real.
something. That's so shameful for me to go like, I didn't respect my dad enough that even if he gave it to me, I wouldn't have really wanted it.
I had this big revelation at like 27 that I was just like my mom. And I fell in love with my mom.
Oh, yeah.
That's beautiful.
I'm having that too with my dad, but he's not there for me to do it. Yeah. So I'm glad you're having yours while she's
Yeah.
still here. I'm fucking a carbon copy, actually.
Yep, me too.
So the country career gets cut short.
I remember actually, I had one embarrassing, shameful moment that I got a little too drunk and I was on stage and I fell off the stage. Nobody in the audience saw, but my bandmates did. And my bass player, she came back on the bus and she's like, you're fucking disgusting. She's like, the fact that you have this opportunity and you're just gonna get drunk, and any of us would want to be on this trajectory that you're on, and you don't write your own music. She went off.
All of her envy came out at once.
And I was like, she's right. And I was dating Ryan Seacrest at the time, which was a whole other experience because he was in radio.
Isn't that much later?
It was like 19 to 21, 22 that I did the music, and I started dating him at 21. He was doing his radio at the time, making this really big deal with iHeartRadio. Country radio was also like, they make $40,000 a year, and he's about to make a $60 million,
Yeah,
deal,
yeah.
and they hate him. I'm now promoting my second record that I'm writing, and there was a photo of me. I was like swan diving off of the front of the yacht. Just like a combustion of like, you're Hollywood, you're dating Ryan,
Yeah, kind of
you're
ruined
writing
your
your
country
music.
street cred.
CMT banned my music video because it was too racy. Like, there was like a whole thing. And then that happened, and I was like, victim, I can't do this. I'm embarrassed. And then I got to move away from it. So instead of actually quitting, I never quit. I just pivoted and I went into movies, and that's when I did burlesque.
Really quick, where are we at with drinking at that age? Is drinking a great source of relief?
My first drink was at 11. It was Bailey's Irish Cream.
Oh, beautiful. Very tasty.
And there was one time I got really drunk, the first time and last time I was ever allowed people over at my house in London. Mark and Derek helped me out. They were very sweet.
And kids drink in England.
Yeah, and I was like 14. And then I didn't drink. And then when I started doing country music, everybody drinks on tour. So then
course.
I would drink a little bit. And the reason I fell off the stage at that show, we were in Napa and we had done a wine tour that day. And then, like always, we would do a shot before we go on. And it just mixed wrong. And I just got really...
Hadn't eaten enough, maybe.
Totally. The stars aligned in that moment, too. And then, boom. It wasn't a source of...
It wasn't anything you were wrestling
Nope,
with.
it wasn't. But when I started the movies... I ended up figuring this out like a few years ago, but my addictive loop, Nicorette gum was part of it, alcohol was part of it, diet pills was a part of it. and then online shopping, the loop. And it would be like a long period of time. And then it got shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter over like a span of 12 years.
Meaning the periods between
Got shorter.
indulgence.
Yeah.
And now you're just like clicking from one little dopamine fix to another.
Totally. It was interesting. I always felt like it's like a million-piece puzzle and I can't figure out, like, I don't know why I do this. And then all of a sudden it was like, boom, here's the 10 pieces of the puzzle and they all fit. This is the loop. That was the biggest sense of relief, not shame.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
It was like, oh my God, thank God I figured this out because that had so much control over me. And I got it in a way where it was more binging versus nonstop. So I could hide that so easily.
And justify it.
And
to
justify
yourself.
it. My behavior wasn't bad.
I met you on the set of Burlesque. That was a wild, I think enough time has
my
passed
gosh.
to talk about what a wild,
You were dating her at that point?
we would have been together for 3 years,
Oh, okay.
2010, although you filmed it in 2009. So there was this incredibly interesting dynamic. We won't name names, but there was a director and a studio head, and they were dating.
For like 20 years.
I would go to the set and I was like, I've never seen anything like this. Sometimes the studio exec's directing, sometimes the director's directing, sometimes they're in a very vocal fight out loud. Was that your first movie that you were there for Run a Picture? And were you thinking this is standard show business? Was any of that seeming bizarre to you?
No, that's what's weird. I was like, oh, okay. It's hostile. It's toxic. Awesome.
It's
You're like, I belong
crazy.
here.
I get it.
Yeah.
It was strange, but it was competitive as well. So I thrived in it.
What was competitive about it?
Dancing obviously was the core element of this movie.
That set was wild. There was a lot of different egos and dynamics. But that was your first experience. So you were like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I guess this is how it is. And I was just very much a head down, do my job, get the work done, be the best that I can be, and don't get involved. That was my way.
And was dating Seacrest, I would imagine it would be so exciting and so privileged and so romantic. And then also I would feel like I was losing myself to all of that.
That was exactly the dynamic. The rug was swept up from underneath me and I was just flying and I was experiencing things that I didn't even know existed.
You're meeting fantastic person after fantastic person.
But then I had this insecurity that I was like, I don't ever want anybody to think that I'm with him for this reason. And so I then started playing smaller.
You didn't want to seem like you were out there to try to get your own attention.
Or that I was like...
using him.
Exactly. And I know that that was his experience in past situations and stuff. And so I, again, overcompensated, was malleable to fit into exactly what somebody needed me to be for them to be happy. And what I've realized over the years is I don't know if I've ever truly been in love with someone, but I have loved the feeling of being loved.
Of course.
And so let me be what that needs to be so that
In
I
order
can
to
be
get it.
loved. And then because I'm so filled with love from someone, of course I love you. I love everyone. I've been in love with everybody I've ever dated, but have I? I don't want to like overanalyze it because every person I've also dated has been a very good person.
He's a lovely dude.
Yeah, beautiful
But his life
qualities.
is enormous. And if I were you,
It's
I might
enormous,
start
yeah.
getting flashbacks of being in England. I'm in someone else's life a little bit.
At that time, no clue. I was so oblivious, so dissociative. I had no idea that that was like a repeated pattern, even though it's familiar and what I know, it's not what I want, but it's what makes me feel safe.
Exactly.
Weird.
You know
Yeah,
how to navigate it.
familiarity
You have
is-
practice.
But again, lovely person. And eventually, I remember when I decided to break things off, I had a lot of these Brentwood moms and producers in that world that were like, what are you doing? And I was like, what do you mean? They're like, your life is completely set up.
Yep.
And I was like, but I didn't build it.
Exactly.
And of course, I was like, I need to create this competitively, like it's not mine. And I want to feel the pride of doing it. I remember I was with my manager and he challenged me in a way. I don't know if you guys know your Enneagrams. I'm a 7 wing 8. Which is
Okay.
like the enthusiast and
Yeah.
the challenger. So when somebody challenges me, I will challenge right back. So my manager said to me, he's like, it must be really hard dating him because he's got such a big life and he's doing this and this and this. And I
Yeah.
was like, no, it's not. Watch me do it.
I have a big life too.
Yeah, exactly. My ego popped in. And that was all before I started on my healing journey.
Did you have this? When I was breaking up with this person, I had this fear that was right, but irrelevant to my real life, which was, well, I know how the public version of this story is going to go. And I don't like that. It was another element of feeling out of control or powerless. I know what the assumption will be when this dissolves, and I don't like that. And I almost can't leave because I don't want that to happen, which I know is going to happen.
Weird enough, again, totally unaware. I didn't think about what people thought.
Okay, that's
I
healthy.
was just
Very
wrestling on the inside. I think much more about what people think now, which is the pendulum swing. I've gone this side, and I'm trying really hard to find this middle ground.
Live between
But
5 and 7.
Yeah, but I definitely was in full self-preservation mode, so I was only concerned about me. I couldn't see, even now I'm talking, I'm like, my publicist is probably gonna be like, what the fuck, Julianne? You didn't need to say all of that.
No, it's great.
Do you know how many people can relate to having that feeling of
Yeah.
joining someone else's
Yeah.
life? I mean, it's a very, very common
Common.
feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, very.
I think so many people can relate. Like,
This is a very heightened version of it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so many people do that.
your wife or husband is a trial attorney, and you're like, yeah, so that's the main thing.
Yeah.
Everything works around that. This person will be gone for this amount of time. That's totally works for some people.
Well, your mom and your dad, the same pattern.
Although it didn't work for mom. And
Yeah,
it didn't work for
exactly.
Julianne. Yeah.
Well, wait, we haven't got to my marriage yet.
Oh my God.
yeah.
Wait. But I do have a question.
Yeah.
In your addiction loop,
Yeah.
is love addiction in there?
Connection is just needing some connection and validation.
Okay.
Not intimacy.
Validation's probably my number one addiction.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
Okay, so we end the country music career and we don't officially end it. We just kind of fade away from
Fade
it.
away.
You then return to Dancing with the Stars. You're doing a lot of things.
I was
at the
doing
same time.
films. I was
Yeah, you
doing
did Footloose.
movies. Footloose and Rock of Ages and Safe Haven.
Are you loving that?
I'm loving it. It's isolation again, so I'm just doing the work. This is just what I know.
Yeah, you're in a bubble when you do a movie. It's like 3 months and I focus on this entirely.
And actually, that's a very good reference point to what I discovered later on, which is I love a project because it's not sustainable. I can do 3 months, do everything I can, and then I can move on.
And you can ignore your life while you're
I can
doing
ignore
it.
that life, and then
Yeah.
I can be done with that life and go have
Yes.
another one. If you look at my career, I've pivoted. I haven't rooted anywhere to create an identity. I'm actually associated as Julianne Hough, the chick from Dancing with the Stars, versus all the other things that I do.
Yeah.
What is my identity? Because Dancing with the Stars has been the most consistent. I was a dancer, judge, host. That has been the most consistent. So my identity is associated with a show.
You need a nice 6-year television show.
But then I'll be associated with that show.
Yeah, you need something outside
Yeah.
of work.
I'm still
that's-
figuring stuff out. I'm like there. I just have to
that-
accept it.
Yeah.
I mean, in that, or at least in my experience, was that was the antidote
Stability.
to movies because
Yeah.
it wasn't a bubble. It's your real life. It goes on all year long, and it goes on all year long for 6 years. And at some point, you're like, no, I have a real job with real coworkers that I can really
Yes.
commit to, and I'll see them for
Yeah.
the rest of my life. And it's actually very substantive and very roots.
Yeah. Well, a few years ago, this is when I figured out my addiction loop. I was in Nebraska and I was in a parking lot of a Pilates studio and I was waiting to go in and it was raining. And I was like, this is my life. I am in Nebraska in a parking lot going to Pilates, waiting to be called on to set with people I don't know. And I'm doing this for the rest of my life. And I'm single. What is happening? This is not the life that I want. I'm grateful for the job and I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to do what I do. But this is not the life that I want.
You're seeing that it's adding up to something you're not going
Yeah.
to want at the end of all of
yeah.
it. Does that influence what you do professionally?
Yeah.
You go, okay, I'm going to be a judge. I'll be home. I can actually nurture my real life
Yeah.
and put roots down. And then how do you meet your husband?
I was doing a movie and we were set up by the lead actor and his wife. I was kind of talking to 5 different people, non-committal. Let me just have the validation and the attention. And he was one of them. And I went to a Tony Robbins seminar that my brother pretty much forced me to go to. My sisters and my mom, we all went.
Are you
and this
in the
was
doc? I'm now
I am,
remembering.
yeah.
Yes.
It was December of 2013. I had been broken up with Ryan for almost a year. And that was my fuck it year. And that's when I met Nina.
She went to that too, right?
Yeah, it took me 6 years to get her there, but,
Oh, okay. There we go.
but that's how her and Sean
She met
met.
Sean. Yeah.
I will take credit at the wedding.
You're allowed.
We both deserve some credit. I tried to hook
Okay.
them up backstage at the Teen Choice Awards. I
Amazing.
introduced them the first time, and then you came in.
For the kill.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was December of 2013. I'd just been on this like fuck it year with Nina. I had never got wild before.
Yeah.
Everything was Miss Perfect and image everything. And I was scared. You know, we went to Coachella for the first time and I was like, I'm going to do drugs, you know, and like, and of course I did like a half a weed Jolly Rancher. And like, I was like, I'm going to be really conservative. And by the time we took it from the hotel to the venue, I had them take me back home. And
my God.
because I was tripping so hard
On a half of
on a
week.
half a weed Jolly Rancher. Anyway, so that was the beginning. And then Nina and I would travel.
Sounds like you were maybe having your adolescence.
I was, for sure. And then at the end of that year, I remember I was like smoking. It just felt dark. My energy was just blah. And I went to this Tony Robbins seminar, and I was actually supposed to meet Brooks, my ex-husband, for the first time at the end of that week. And so I was like, I'm only going to go for 2 days, Derek, because I know this is important to you. I'll go for 2 days, but I'm going to come back. I'm going to get my nails done, my hair done, you know, and then I'm going to fly to go and see this new guy in D.C.
Wow, flying to a blind date.
I mean, we'd been talking for a little bit, and I was still kind of talking to these other people. I remember the first day of the Tony Robbins seminar, I was like, oh, shit. I was completely oblivious of so many different belief systems that I had and patterns and the meanings that I put behind everything. And then I realized, oh my God, I was proving myself to these people. And then I was like, I thought I was a good girlfriend, but actually I wasn't because I wasn't communicating anything. It was like, some people that happens to, some people don't have that big of an experience. It changed my fucking life. And so I was like, I'm staying.
Yeah.
I text everybody that I was talking to and I was like, I am so sorry. This is going nowhere, but thank you for the time.
I'm day 2 at a Tony Robbins convention, and this is over.
This is over, yeah. But for some reason with Brooks, I don't want to end things with him. And I ended up having the greatest week of my life. I pivoted so hard and did the pendulum swing of so closed off to like my heart is so open. And it is not about giving and taking. It's just about giving. Like I went to this whole third dimensional place of love of just like, I don't want anything in return. I just want to love. And I went and I met him and I was just on this Tony Robbins high, glowing.
False advertisement, maybe.
A little bit because I went so far on the other side of the pendulum swing that it was all about just giving. So when we met, I was in a state of love. We started dating and I think he was a little bit like, who is this fairy who's like popped into my life? He's also very black and white, came from Wawota, Saskatchewan, population 600.
Lived with all boys in a
Boys
dorm
and
growing up.
and like hockey was his whole life.
Amazing culture, by the way.
Totally. I just was like, this is it. I'm ready. And sometimes you meet the people for the right time, the season, whatever it is, and something just was the right fit. We did long distance for like 3.5 years, and then we got married.
So did you ever live together?
Not really. I would go back and forth every other week to see him. In hindsight, there were a lot of orange flags, I would say.
Again, you're joining his
I'm joining
life
his
because he has a
life.
set schedule.
While also keeping my own in LA because I could go home and just do what I needed to do. And so then when we actually joined forces, he came into my life. So it was this interesting joining of lives.
Was he retiring when he came to be with you?
No. And he had a really rough last few years of his career. He was injured and then he got traded before his team that he'd been there for almost 12 years won the Stanley Cup.
Oh.
It makes me want to cry because I feel for him so bad.
What a year.
Yeah. That was 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the year we got married and the year that everything kind of
Started to
unraveling.
unravel.
Yeah.
That's a bummer. Because sometimes you wonder just, you know, another time, another place kind of thoughts.
Yeah.
But sometimes those thoughts are,
Lies.
yeah, and I think they often are. I think it can be distracting. Liz and I talk about this a lot because I think she does this of like, I wonder if now it's like, it wasn't right. That can be a hard thing to fully accept.
But you could also have met me 1 year before I got sober, and you could have met me 3 years after I got sober, and probably,
But
you
it
know,
wasn't right. It has nothing to do with like, then maybe, you know.
I feel like our relationship and our marriage was exactly right. And the end of it is right too. We both have regrets that it didn't work out because I don't think we had the maturity to like come together. He was contracting while I was expanding. We just couldn't find each other in that. We just went into our own protective modes. So we've definitely accepted what happened, but we're sad that like it didn't work out because I've only dated great human beings.
Yeah, that's great.
And he's got the greatest heart that I could have ever had the privilege of being with.
Now, I would imagine there's two really strong forces in the wake of a divorce for you. One being, I'm not going to be my mom, because that to me is a big motivator for me to never get divorced. It's just like, I refuse to do what my parents did.
Parents and my oldest sister, because my sister and my mom did the same pattern. So my sister got married when she was 19, the year that my mom left my dad. 20 years later, my sister left her husband, same thing. And my mom was actually thinking about leaving her husband at that time. And it was the year that I got married.
Oh, wow.
It was very,
Yeah, suspicious.
Yeah, it was very strange. So when I got divorced, I was like, well, I'm not going to spend 20 years doing this. And I'm a very hungry, curious person. And especially in the last 10 years, I've been very much into the self-discovery zone. And then when I got divorced, I was like, I am not getting into a relationship. I'm not just doing that. I'm not going to do the thing.
Yeah.
But so there's the element of like, okay, now I'm one step closer to being like my mom.
Yep.
But then also the perfectionist who now has failed publicly. Were you like dealing with the embarrassment that people knew? In my opinion, we shouldn't feel bad for celebrities because we got it all. But it's a unique experience, I think, to have. The hardest thing people go through generally, divorce, in public is just this other element that seems uniquely cruel.
Well, I think the thing that was the hardest, yes, it was publicity and the narrative that it was me going on this spiritual journey. And there was this quote that came out earlier from that. And lots of stuff was circulating it. And at the time, I just never spoke about it because I was like, I don't want to feed into anything. But also, I never had the narrative ever during that time. I've also felt kind of misunderstood in that time frame. But then I'm like, but who am I trying to get to understand me? I don't actually care at this point anymore.
Well, that's what you hope to come out on.
Yeah.
But there's these
But at the
moments
time,
where...
no, at the time, whoa.
Yeah, no,
This is my death hole pit of shit era. Like, that was like 4 years.
And it was during COVID too, right?
It was. So I asked for a separation in September of 2019. 10 days later, my dogs died. And I had them for 11 years. And it was...
Oh, no. They both died?
Yeah, it was very tragic.
Oh,
And
I'm sorry.
Thank you. That was all kind of happening at the same time, but it was an unraveling. Everything that I had ever known that I had put into place for my control and my protection. Unconditional love was represented by my girls, Lexi and Harley. I had this marriage to this guy who represented more of a father figure to me. And while he was changing, I was changing.
Completely unmoored.
You're like, what can I count on? There is nothing I can count on. In
Uprooted
this life.
everything to the point where these are like the negative thoughts that you have. You're like, I literally blew up my entire life and I have nothing. But that's not the truth. It's like, oh, I actually get to start in an intentional way that I get to design and create the life that is actually coming from my soul.
Have you destroyed your whole life, or have you been liberated from a life you
Exactly.
didn't intentionally design?
And even though it is liberation when I look at it from a higher place, doesn't mean it wasn't hard as fuck.
Oh, yeah, of course. I think liberation, that viewpoint comes years later.
Totally.
Yeah, I don't think anyone in the moment is like, oh, I'm liberated from my marriage. You're like, oh my fucking God, my life's ending.
Yeah.
Well, since then, work works out for you. I mean, you do Broadway. You're on America's Got Talent. You are a judge on Dancing with the Stars. You host the red carpet for the Oscars. You just did the Tony Awards. You're plenty distracted by work. There is a healthy zone of work.
Yeah.
There's like the one where you completely lose yourself to it and ignore your real life. But then there's also one where it's like it's mini vacations, which are nice and needed.
The first part of the divorce, it was COVID, and I had just started a company called Kinergy, and it was basically what I needed and what I was doing to start my healing journey. And so I was sharing that through an outlet, which was a company. And so that was like the first thing that I focused my energy on. And that took up a lot of time and energy, and I was managing a lot of people. And so I had connection, I had a mission and purpose. It felt like it was coming from me. This wasn't a performance. So it was this first time that I felt connected to something that felt real and sustainable in a way that I wasn't pushing. And then that kind of took its toll, and the company shifted and changed and went into a different direction, and I moved away from that. I think in the last few years, I consciously was like, I don't want to date because I know when I do, I can feel it. I'm not attracting the thing that I want, and I'm not being who I want to be. Let me focus on my family relationships and my friendships, and then I can work too. But my relationship with my mom and dad, when I got divorced, everything fell apart. And the only people that I could turn to were my parents.
Right.
It was a full reuniting of like, hey guys, I'm about to unload a lot. I love you. This is why I'm going to share all of this, but this is what happened. And we literally went through years of healing, and that connection with my parents, I got to feel like a kid again.
Lovely.
Taken care of.
Totally taken care of. And I couldn't, it was the most depressed time in my life. And I couldn't just keep going. And thank God for the pandemic, I couldn't hide. And so it was the most beautiful opportunity to create that connection with my family and my sisters, because Derek and I were close, but we had a wedge with us. And I have the life that they wish that they had. They're so proud, and they would never want me to not have it. But there's so much sadness that they weren't able to have it.
Yeah.
And I was able to look at them and be like, okay, my oldest sister has 6 kids, and she went through a divorce, and there were so many abandonments and betrayals that happened in her life that I'm experiencing right now. I can go and ask her for advice. I can need her. My second sister had a business with 60 employees, and I was struggling with having employees, and I could go to her and talk to her about that. You know, my third sister really struggled with depression and anxiety and self-worth, and I was like, I can talk to her about that. And we had all these things that we could bond over that were real.
Fundamental.
Yeah. So I was able to reconnect with my family.
By the way, almost everything you're listing is all the bonding's really over the imperfections and the failures. And it's like when you're presenting all the time, all of this perfection, it's a barrier of connection, weirdly. We think it'll attract more people to us, but it's not really the thing that connects us.
I used to say my energy was my superpower. I was like, I think it was just anxiety.
Yeah.
But the more you breathe, the more you have. And then it's this misguided representation of energy. Sometimes more is just more. It's not better.
Okay, we have arrived at everything we never knew. This is another pivot.
It is.
Because when you're coming on, and I know you have a book, my assumption is it's going to be a memoir, and it's not.
It is a fiction novel, but it's supernatural. It's heightened. It's self-discovery. It's factional. It is my experiences of my, I hate using this term, but spiritual awakening and my awareness and the unraveling of my so-called perfect life. I was like, you know, I spent so much of my life giving every part of myself to everyone.
Yeah.
And I don't want to share the details, but I want to share the universal themes of loss and grief and abandonment and betrayal and violation and all sorts of things that I've experienced.
So who's carrying your story in this book?
Her name is Lexi,
Your dog.
who was my soulmate. So Lexi is a woman who seemingly has everything put together. She is the star saleswoman at her real estate firm. She has the perfect husband. They live in the perfect little house in Utah. At the very beginning, you realize that she had a very big loss. And as she's kind of going through this experience at her gala, where she's about to receive her award for the best salesman of the year, she's a little distracted, but she goes up to give her speech, and she sees a man, and she's like, I don't recognize this guy. And he's got this like cloud around him, and it's just this dark energy, and he sits down, and then all of a sudden she can't breathe. She feels like she's drowning. She tastes the salt water, and then she starts hearing this woman saying like, help him, save him, Henry. And she's like, the fuck is happening right now? And she's like, is anybody hearing this? No. And cut to, that's like her first experience of like, something's not right. I think I'm either going crazy. Nobody heard this. And then later on that night, he ends up having an overdose, and she thinks I could have helped him. So now she's like,
She's
what's
getting
happening?
empath infected.
You think this whole book, she's on this journey to become a healer. And of course, you can't heal anybody or be a part of somebody's healing journey without healing yourself first. So she has to go through her own lessons of healing and transformation. And it's all through the elements: earth, fire, water, air. And this is all based off of my true experiences
Yeah.
and what I used as my healing journey. And when I was going through that and writing the book, I have technically she was supposed to be a ghostwriter, but I was like, she wrote this. I came up with the concept and the themes and we talked every week, but I'm a high concept person. Like, let somebody else write it. And so she's on the cover.
Ellen Goodlet.
Yeah. So as I was writing the book, I couldn't actually look at it for 2 years after we wrote it. I wrote it in 2020.
Oh my gosh. Because you felt like it was going to be still too exposing.
Exposing, but also I like to call it my death hole pit of shit era, where I was in the darkest time. I couldn't give the good energy for it.
Right.
It was just negative.
You
And
were going to
so-
infect whatever you read with the terrible lens you were looking through life with.
Exactly. I felt such like a cowardly, hypocritical thing because I'm writing this thing. I created this modality, Kinergy, to help other people with their movement and transformation. And I'm going through this like shitstorm of a thing. And so I was like, I can't even look at it until I'm out of this. Anyway, I ended up reading it end of 2022. And I was like, oh shit, this is really good. I think I should probably do something with it. So we started figuring out what the actual editing process was like. And when that was happening, I actually started writing music. And I've written 5 songs that are for each one of the lessons that she goes through.
Oh, cool.
And gonna do the book narration and do score. And so I'm like, oh wow, this is the artistry that I was talking about, which is through the healing. I like found creativity and passion with actually my voice. And so even though it's like such a departure, I would never call myself an author. It's storytelling, it's narrative, and it's how people experience it. So some people will read, some people will listen to music, some people will dance.
And most importantly, you read it and you felt like it represented the story that you had gone through.
Different experiences, but the universal themes. So people who know my story will be able to read between the lines. People who don't know my story will see themselves completely in it and find their own version.
I admire that you're including Ellen.
Me too.
A lot. Like almost more than anything.
Me too.
How did you decide that? Was that a hard decision?
Not at all. Not
you just
at all.
have integrity.
That's a really interesting thing you say that, because in the last 3 years, I've been like, integrity is my word.
You know who's got a lot of integrity? Monica.
Oh, that's
I feel that.
Other than she cheat on the election, that's her only...
in a very
I know,
specific
I know.
election. I would.
You know you have integrity if I can only think of one thing and I know it.
It's also I have integrity that I'm owning it.
Totally. But honestly, integrity and honesty was not my biggest thing, because that was out of fear from
Well,
a
also
long
you were
time
very
ago.
results oriented.
Performative.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's hard
integrity
to
is
have
internal and it's not flashy and it might get noticed and it might not.
And
Yeah.
it can be repellent.
It can be.
It's inconvenient sometimes.
Yeah.
When it's time to tell a white lie.
Yeah. That's what this book is. And it's the first project that I've had that it's taken me a long time. It wasn't just a quick thing. It's come from like a deep rooted truth and authenticity and scary place. And it's also something that I'm like, if it hits, great. If it doesn't, cool. I did it.
Yeah.
You know?
It was about process, hopefully, and not about the results. You've been stuck in the results. And then the last thing we'll mention is that you're in The Bride, which Maggie Gyllenhaal directed, in fucking Christian Bale and Annette Bening and Penelope Cruz. Let me just tell you really quick. I think Christian Bale is probably the best working male actor.
Oh my gosh.
And that American Beauty, I would say her performance is among the top 3 I've ever seen.
Ever.
And then Penelope Cruz, what a party for you.
No, it's a party. I'm very excited. I think it was announced, so I can say it, but Jake Gyllenhaal is also in it.
Oh.
And so Jake and
We
I,
love Jake.
we play 1930s movie stars.
Oh,
Oh,
fun.
fun.
We get to dance and
Oh my
have
God,
our...
Maggie directs Jake. We got to have them both on together.
It's fabulous. It's
I
really
love
fun
that.
watching them.
Talk about a perfectionist. He's just so like, I even look what he did with Roadhouse.
Roadhouse
It's
and
like
his body and
the
like,
body
oh my
and
gosh.
the learning all the moves and the fight sequences. So convincing, clearly so dedicated
He's
to
so
everything he
dedicated.
does.
We were dancing and he was wanting to get it so
Yes.
perfect.
I bet. All right, so The
Yes.
Bride. Everyone
Yeah.
look for that. And then Everything We Never Knew, August 13th. Yes.
Fun.
Okay,
Yeah.
Jules, a.k.a. Julianne Hough. Such a pleasure to have you.
You too.
Good luck with everything. Everyone read Everything We Never Knew Be well.
Stay tuned for the fact check so you can hear all the facts that were wrong.
How's the trip been so far, Aaron?
Fantastic. So good. So good
What
to
are the
see you.
highlights?
The highlights, once again, is going to have to be Morton's Steakhouse.
Oh, yeah.
Monday
Recurring
Oh.
thing.
Yeah.
We had such a party there.
It just was a magical night it turned into.
This is a weird sign of a great experience, but this has happened to me at Houston's 3 or 4 times, and it happened to me at Morton's, which is immediately after the meal, I had to really go to the bathroom in crazy harness
Before we left the restaurant.
before I left the restaurant.
Oh, wow.
And I think that's a result of like eating such delicious, rich, fatty food
Buttery.
that my body's like, whoa, we got to get this.
Well, you eat very regimented, so you're also, it's just like different.
So we went hard wedge. We went split the rack of lambs in the ribeye, truffle fries, sauteed spinach, and we forced Nate to order a martini
A dry gin martini.
Hell yeah.
with extra olives.
Yeah.
That's my drink, but I don't get olives. I get lemon twist.
Oh, yeah. And then I asked for a pack of cigarettes too, which she didn't have. But
And the telephone.
and a telephone. Our obsession with that Morton's is we really want a telephone with a cord where they would bring it out. Oh,
Yeah.
fourth person. Hello. Someone just knocked.
It sounded like it, but it might just be construction. Oh, it's Delta.
She just got a new Nerf gun.
Oh, and she wants to show me. She already blasted you.
Oh, yeah. Shut the
Hi,
shit out of me.
Hi. What's up?
I just needed to look I was looking for Aaron.
You were looking for Aaron? Why? Because you want to shoot him?
No, I was going to ask if he could participate in our game.
Oh, would it involve him getting shot with your Nerf gun?
Oh, no, he would just be the bait. We'd put a gun to his head.
Okay.
Wouldn't shoot him.
She
Okay.
blasted 5 rounds into me already.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry I've stolen him for work, but
I will-
He'll be done in an hour. What?
How much longer?
An hour.
Oh.
I know. I'm sorry. That's an eternity at your age.
She's a good shot, by the way. She has your skill
My
with a
pistol
pistol.
skills.
Yeah.
We were talking about what potential, if we had to be in the Olympics, what could we do? What would be our best
Like
shot?
now, like if we had to go today with our current skills, or is it our aptitude?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
We didn't get that granular about it. Aaron, is baseball in the Olympics? Anyways,
course not.
I was a pretty good shot with a pistol.
Oh,
Is
got
what
it.
we remembered. Aaron was much better with a rifle or a shotgun, but I was pretty good with a pistol. So we thought, maybe I'll do that weird pistol. And did you watch any of the pistol shooting?
Nah.
They have the weirdest physicality you can imagine. It's like they're leaning on 4 different invisible things. They have the weirdest position to do it. Yeah. I had overlooked something, and then someone else in the comments had discovered it on their own. As I had previously said, there was a synchronized diving team, American women by the name of Cook and Bacon.
Yes.
Do you know who won men's gold
No.
in synchronized swimming? I'm sorry, synchronized diving?
No.
Long Wang.
Wow.
Isn't that
Can't make that up.
so good?
Wow. There was also one of the swimming competitions. There was like a Canadian person next to an American person, and it was Harvey Weinstein.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
I was like, you could have just separated them.
Flip the lanes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Harvey
my
Weinstein.
God.
It was crazy. Yeah, so there's some fun name play going on.
Did you happen, I know you didn't, but did you happen to see the heavyweight wrestling gold medal match?
No.
It was a Cuban wrestler, and this was his 5th Olympics in a row he won gold at. Completely
Wow.
unprecedented. He's 41.
Wow.
And
That's bonkers.
Yeah, 5 in a row Olympics. Isn't that
Jeez.
crazy?
So 20 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
Golds.
Of golds, baby.
Nice.
I hope he comes back at 45. Oh, now this is a pitch. I think this is a very good idea. When they do any event, particularly I want to see it in the 400 and the 800 and the 200. All the running ones where there's multiple lanes, they should have a dead average person in the 9th lane.
Yeah. A lot of people, yep.
Is this a common request?
I have heard this before.
You have?
Yes, I have.
So nothing original about this thought.
No, but it's a good enough thought that a lot of people have thought it.
There couldn't be anything better than to just see a dead average person. So we know what's happening because they're all relative to one another. You're talking.
I think about that with the swimmers. No one would even be halfway across the pool by the time they're done with their 800.
Do you think any of them would become the stars? Like, here's Dan swimming in the 6th lane.
Like just people would root for him.
Yeah,
He's average.
Or what if he won?
We found out these people
he
are
got all
shit.
hyped up on the
he starts getting all the
crowd.
commercials and the.
Also, he would have she would have a ton of time in the spotlight because, I was thinking, I can't remember if the 400. I know that it's around 50 or maybe even less, 40 something, 8. I haven't timed myself running all around the track an entire lap, but I'm guessing it's got to be more around a minute and a half.
So
I would have a good 40 seconds of a close up.
Yeah.
When everyone else is finished. You get some good screen time as that average Joe.
Lots of screen time.
I don't think they zoom in. They just have you in the background, still going.
They're doing the interview.
Yeah, while they're interviewing.
Shutting the lights off.
Yeah.
But you have to keep going. Everyone's
Swooping up.
funneling out, and you're like, oh, traffic's going to be a bitch. You're the last one out of here.
Guys mopping the floor.
Okay, now I have a history of offending Olympians. Do you remember
You've
this?
done it before, yeah.
Yeah, and it was specifically when we launched Parenthood, which I think was in 2008, and we followed the Winter Olympics. So everywhere we went to do press, they would, of course, ask us about the Olympics. And I said that curling's crazy. No one's even in a
which
uniform.
I do think is offensive. I do.
I'm like, what is this?
People devote
this
their
is-
whole life.
It's sweeping. There's someone with a broom, and people are wearing sweats, and nothing matches. So I was just being
Is
funny.
there that really? It's that
You watch
random?
curling.
I know what it is, but
it looks like. Well, God, here I go again. I don't want to get back into it. Point is, I had done that, and then I got a lot of blowback from it, and I apologize. I think it's a great sport, and I wish all curlers a ton of luck and good fortune. And so I learned my lesson. Mm-hmm. So now I'm not going to say anything about it. I'm just going to say something.
Okay. Sounds like you really learned a lesson.
Speed walking.
Oh.
And I'm just going to say speed walking. And that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say an opinion about it, but I'm just going to simply say speed walking.
I enjoyed the clips you sent me last night.
I sent Monica a clip too.
It's Kristen's character in Queen Pins was a speed walker. Mm-hmm. Olympic speed walker, I think.
And that's a factual story. I wonder if that
Yeah, it
element.
is.
Yeah. It does something so specific to the body.
Yeah. Because the back of your heel has to touch. So your feet have to touch.
Yeah.
Which is why then you look really worm-like.
Your hips are going back and forth, up and down, and then your knees seem to bow a bit from years of doing this.
Probably.
It doesn't what it does. It looks very unnatural anatomically. The body knows it's supposed to start running at that point.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I wonder if I'd be good at it because I am naturally bow-legged.
Oh, okay. But I think you might need to be
The opposite.
pigeon-toed or whatever. But you
That's
you
not
think you're
such-
bow-legged?
I am, yeah. My knees don't touch.
Oh, when you put your wow, mine do. Do yours, Aaron? Let's do a little.
What do we do here?
Put your ankles together, touching, and see if your knees then touch.
Oh, God, no.
Oh.
Really? Are you bow-legged
But
too?
you have tree trunk thighs though. You have such redwood, strong, powerful.
They, okay.
Okay. Oh, do you think we meant the top of your knees?
No. It just,
Your
it's
kneecaps.
taking a lot of
Effort.
effort to do it.
But
See,
Monica's
mine
claiming
don't.
she can't even do it.
It won't.
No,
Can
you're
I
not
see if I
touch.
pushed? If
Lots
you
of
push from
space.
the outside, could you get them to touch? To save mankind, you got to get them to touch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ow. No, it hurts.
Oh my God, you got hurt. You can't be in the Olympics.
No,
hurt on the
I
couch.
can. They don't.
Now, when I sent you the clip, what did you think? Had you watched any of it?
No, I had
Okay,
not. I had
okay.
not seen that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to be
Yeah,
derogatory.
I don't either.
How long are the races?
I don't want to at all. So forever.
Let me just keep it going here.
They last a very long time. They're going marathon length.
They are?
Yes, I was watching that, and it was on all night. I was trying to.
No, they're not walking. They're walking
Look at the distance.
26 miles.
Find out what the distance is. And they walked like 41. They had to go in a loop 41 times or something.
Yeah, so there's 5,000 meters, 10,000 meters, 20,000 meters, 50,000 meters.
Must have been 20,000.
How many
meters.
miles is that?
So that's 20 km. That's 13 miles.
So half marathon.
Half marathon.
Now I'm starting to get interested about it.
Me too. The more I talk
Yeah,
about
now
it,
I'm like,
and go back.
the judges, are they watching constant?
Yeah.
Is someone watching a specific person constant that
Yeah,
they
because
don't
how
break
are
their
they-
stride?
Exactly.
They add penalties. So, like, if you fuck up in your running or whatever, you don't touch your heel. I can't remember if you get a warning first, but at some point they start giving you 3-minute penalties. Oh. So it's not like they just go get out of there. They start adding on to your
how
time.
are they? Do they have binoculars? How are they making sure the
And
heels?
is there 65 judges for each?
That's exactly.
You can't. There's no way you could be watching two people at once.
No.
Also, after like an hour of it, does that thing happen? You know, there's been studies on whether security guards can actually even see those TVs after they're on a shift for 3 hours. Do you know this?
Because their eyes like glaze over.
Well, their subconscious just files it in. They can't really see anything. It's kind of
Yeah.
it's pageantry, and I do wonder if at some point they're like they get hypnotized and they're missing the mark.
Yeah. Could be.
Could be. And then we had an inquiry about gymnastics and the whole stunting your growth thing. Do you remember that? Uh-huh. And so someone wrote in and they said, love this episode. Also, I do think gymnastics stunts your growth. I quit when I was 19 and I was 5'1" In less than a year, I grew 4 inches and I'm 5'5". I'm also the shortest person in my family by a good 3 inches. So anecdotally, I do think I'd be taller if I didn't do gymnastics.
Yeah. It's
just
all anecdotal. I haven't heard anything from any
Scientists.
doctors or scientists.
Yeah.
But Simone's 4'8". Like
She's 4'8".
It had to have stunted her a little bit.
And I don't think any of her competitors are above 5'2".
I watched an interview with her where she was debunking gymnastics myths, and one of them was people say gymnastics stunts your growth, and she said, I don't know, but I am 4'8", so probably.
Okay, good. She calls it like she sees it.
She does.
She seems liberated.
Yeah, she really does. Well, that's
Yeah.
because she goes to therapy.
Yeah, she's being her true, authentic self.
Okay, sorry. There we go.
Okay.
Oh,
we had such a fun chat off
No,
air.
you can't say that. I'll make people angry.
I know. We had such a fun chat off air. We're back.
Morton.
Okay, let's get back to Mortines.
It is like a time travel.
Yeah,
You-
I love a steakhouse for that reason.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
and you what you really want most is a big, heavy telephone, and you want them to bring it to you because your business demanded it, right? They know you're at Morton's for dinner or for lunch every day. Mind you, this was dinner, and then you have to either fire someone or threaten to fire someone over this landline while you're chewing your steak, and then you slam it, and then you light up a cigarette and have a nice cigarette in there.
To God,
Yeah.
it only seems right there.
I would never smoke again. It's been almost 19 years, but I might make an exception inside of Morton's if they said, we're going to bring smoking back for a day.
Okay.
I might have a big steak
If
and
she-
have the cigarette burning while I'm eating the steak.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, if she would have brought us cigarettes
Out of tray.
and an ashtray, I would have smoked.
Big, gorgeous crystal ashtray.
Yeah.
Did you guys have baked potatoes?
Not this time.
I encouraged Nate to get the loaded baked potato,
I love a loaded baked potato.
but he felt like he had enough. He had enough food.
My favorite part is when Dax wants other people to have things. Like when I was still drinking, he, like especially like early on, like when he would get sober, he's like, "Can you please have some drinks and more cigarettes?" Like he wanted me to do
Well, I
all the
want
things
people
he
to-
couldn't do.
Yeah.
And be yourself. I was
No,
always
and be- yes, that
terrified
was-
that people are like curbing their behavior because I'm sober.
Yeah, I know
Right.
that's part of it. And I get it too because I had a lot of joy watching Nate drink a martini
Yes,
too.
yes.
That was pretty fun.
And what a bastard, Monica. He drank like a third of it.
Yeah, he didn't even
And,
finish
and
it.
Aaron and Aaron.
They're strong if you aren't used to drinking them.
But also he's with 3 addicts. And we were like, what the
Who
fuck
else?
is he doing? Eric.
I would never have had. Oh, I mean,
Well, we
yeah,
made them.
I would have.
Yeah. You've drank wine with just Eric and I.
I think you guys were coming off your meeting too, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
we were coming from a meeting.
I'm proud of Nate for doing it. Like I'm glad he did it.
He did not want it.
I would have felt uncomfortable. I would have felt uncomfortable.
Even when we suggested gin, you could tell it was like, oh, God, this is even getting better. Like,
this specific.
I really don't want this.
Yeah.
Do you know what's happening though in my head right now?
What?
You know,
No.
I want one so bad.
Oh, you should go to Morton's and have one.
I mean,
You might, right?
I'm not gonna go to Morton's.
You should-
'cause that
you
feels
should.
far. It's far.
It
Isn't
took
it? It's
the
in
man-
Beverly Hills.
No. It's right here in Burbank, right by Warner Brothers.
Oh.
And
Yeah, but then I have to drive.
it's very simple. It's an easy commute.
I just mean if I've been drinking a bunch of martinis.
Well, you don't have to have a bunch. You could just have 3 or 4.
3 or
I'm
4 martinis?
Not a bunch.
Okay, you know what's worse?
I'll pay for an Uber for you to get to and from.
Yeah.
What's really
Well, I'll
upsetting
drive
that
you.
just
We'll
happened.
drive you once, you drink 4.
You're just outside the window
Yeah.
and see.
And then we'll be like,
encourage
Monica,
you.
it's time for try your first cigarette. We'll have a pack of cigarettes with us.
I got for 1 second, and this is a little worrisome. For 1 second, when you said not a lot, just 3 or 4, I thought for a second like, oh my God, I really am not drinking much at all.
Oh, sure.
Because that sounds insane. But then when you said it as if like, yeah, that's average.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm definitely barely
Doing fine,
drinking.
yeah.
If I had 3 Jack and Diets at a dinner, that would be a big win for me. I would be like, oh, this
Yeah.
is great. I don't even have a problem. Or even 4.
2 martinis.
You're
is-
also half my size.
Yeah,
though.
2 martinis is what I would get probably, which
And you'd
is
be loose.
which is a martini extra than most regular drinkers or like people who dip their toe in.
Casual.
As you said, Nate had half a martini.
A third.
Ugh,
Yeah.
God.
We made him take one more sip before we left. He didn't want to.
He might have liked a lemon twist more.
Can I show you a picture of him?
I was just about to say the
Yeah.
picture is great.
It really
It
is.
looks like a fishbowl of I mean, it does look really big in the
I got the
picture, but-
perspective to look extra sweet.
Was it an extra big one or something?
No,
Oh.
totally normal. No.
Okay, mommy, pick up your phone. Yeah. It's like real cloudy,
There is
which I like.
something about a martini with steak, though.
Yeah, and
Well,
cigarettes,
yeah,
a phone call.
steakhouses. Yeah, that's what I think of: whiskey, cigarettes, phones,
business,
loosening my belt.
Oh my God. This is a cute
making
picture.
up excuses to your family.
Right.
I do got to point out one thing that was a really nice touch was that he ordered it and not because it was slow. The man took a long time to make it, and he personally brought it out from the bar. It's not
was
like they
nice.
handed it off to the server. The man who made it, artisanal,
Yeah, atelier. Yep.
Atelier, he walked it over.
Yeah.
And I
that's
was like,
on a platter.
it had to have been, right? He
think
wouldn't have been
so.
holding it.
Yeah. It
Taking
was
a
on
sip
it was
of
on a
before he
tray. No,
puts it down.
it was pretty classy. Yeah.
It was so
Rob,
good.
when you drank, did you ever drink martinis?
No.
It's a move.
It is. It's what James Bond always did.
Yeah. You know, now I get them with a lemon twist and an orange twist. I invented that.
Oh, okay. A citrus combo. It's kind of like an Arnold Palmer of martinis.
Yeah. I'm starving. I think that's why I want a martini.
Yeah, 'cause that'll stave
Oh
off.
man, I'm really starting to want
You're
one
hungry.
too.
We gotta start talking about it. This is
Yeah,
where
my nose feels really empty, like painfully empty.
This is where my codependence starts kicking in. Have you taken Aaron to Cara?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have been,
And
Yep.
we almost went yesterday, but we ended up going to your place.
We're not saying where it is because I've decided I'm not giving all my spots away.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you don't want to have to stand in line to go to
Yeah.
the place. But it was great. It was delicious.
it was. We got there 4 minutes before open, and
He was already
I mean, you
crying.
walk
Did you get
in
there at
just
4?
fucking partying.
3:56. Why is that so funny? It's exactly when we got there.
Only ones there. We beat the bartender.
And then, would you want to hear my highlight?
Yeah.
of his visit.
Yes.
There's been so many. We've watched so much Olympics and we've worked out a bunch and we've been in the pool every night watching Olympics, which has been so special, and saunaing. Very great visit. But last night we watched Johnny Hustle, the Pete Rose documentary on HBO. I had flagged it a couple of weeks ago. Something I would watch, but then I thought, oh, Aaron's coming and he's a baseball junkie, so we'll save it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're enjoying the hell out of it. We watched 2 episodes last night, but we had our best laugh of the
Yeah, we had to pause it
For a
and
while.
laugh for 10 full minutes, maybe.
Yeah, where my stomach hurt. Because he had, and I say this with great respect to Pete Rose, he's the stat machine. Maybe the best to ever play.
Yes.
He always had the very worst haircut imaginable.
Oh, no.
Where man.
man.
It's insane how bad the haircuts were. And they're flashing back to 1974, then 1976. His style's changing, but every time
To 2006. I mean, you wouldn't fucking
Is it the
believe
same haircut or it's different
No, that's what I'm
versions of
saying.
bad?
Is he keeps doing a different one, and all of them are a miss, a major miss. And he's got great hair to work with.
I was going to
He's
say,
got
is it a
thick
hair problem?
Bro,
No.
tons of hair.
What?
Too
Too much
crazy
hair.
amount of hair.
Yeah, so this evolved. He's famous for driving Rolls Royces and stuff. And we were pretending someone said, like, Pete, you got to spend more than $5 on a haircut. He's like, no, I'm not. I spend $5. I cut the front, and then someone else cuts the back. And once we figured out that he was cutting the front,
It made more
and
sense.
that's what was going on. And once you realize that did explain exactly what was fucked up about all of his hairdos, it looked like someone different cut the front than the back.
Oh, my
So then we
God.
decided he cut the front. I cut the front. I can see it. And then I pay the guy in the locker room $5. He cuts the back. Oh my God, were we off to the races
Yeah,
with that
that's-
mission? If you're looking at his haircut while that realization's happening, it was transcendent.
Yeah.
That's fun.
It's real fun.
I wonder if he was doing some identity stuff like you do, which is that you have all this fancy shit, but you want to remain like a man of the people.
Well, I don't think that was his motivation.
There's no way for us to know.
Well,
is he
No,
dead?
it wasn't
No.
brought up.
They showed he's not dead.
He's 81 in the doc, but that was 22, so he's probably 83.
They showed him as a young man before the Rolls Royces, before the paydays.
But I mean, maybe, but no, that's what I'm saying.
He wanted
Maybe
to
he's
keep it
like,
going.
exactly, like I'm still me.
I see. Yes.
Well, it was a major ding, ding, ding because I've given myself like 3 or 4 haircuts in the last 6 days. So I happen to be personally on a tear of cutting my hair. Maybe
really?
that's why it occurred to me he's cutting the front of his hair.
Interesting.
Because just yesterday I was like, I got to cut the back. Like I got
Oh, you
to.
did some more lines?
No, I just I had done lines a few days ago on my sides, and then I didn't touch the back. And then every time I'm working out, I get these glimpses of the back of my hair is a little too long. So then I got the 2 mirrors out yesterday and got the clippers, and I actually did the back.
Got it.
I've been in there every time I go in front of the mirror for the last 4 or 5 days. I'm in there with the
Start trimming?
scissors. I do. I see one little spot, and I'm all over it.
I did a bit of trimming this morning when the sun hits the mirror, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
What's happening?
Well, okay, this started with I finally pulled the trigger on it was getting so out of control. I know it's the age and the whatever. Like my chest hair is like fucking a foot long all of a sudden, and
yes, that's the change. The hair starts getting longer and longer.
yeah, wild.
Have
And
you
I
noticed your armpit hair at any point
I
being
just
like 2
shaved
feet
it.
long?
I shaved it here.
Yeah, I just
Yeah,
started.
oh no,
cutting-
it's
Yeah.
a foot long.
That just occurred to me like 6 months. I'm like, I pull some arm hair down and go, what the fuck? Why is
I'm so glad.
Yes, I could have braided it. So I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'm so glad we're talking about this because I feel like half of my fucking life now is maintaining myself.
Fuck yeah, it is.
I cut my toenails this morning. I'm so sick of these. I just cut my toenails and my fingernail. I feel like I just did it. And then I'm shaving the back of my neck because that hair is popping out. I'm trimming my fucking
Welcome
armpits
to
now.
being a woman.
That's exactly what I felt like.
this
I was
is
like,
what our whole lives are about.
it's
man.
endless.
It
And it's
is.
like this ocean. It's just coming and coming and coming. It's not
never
going to stop.
ending.
We had a session, Ruthie and I, out on the patio, and I was trying to do. My intention was they'll let her clean up some areas, some patches that, really
Some hair patch.
are looking ridiculous. So she did, and then she went back to reading her book maybe, and I was like, well, I have these trimmers, and so I'm like, let me just put a guard on and chop a couple inches off of this chest hair. We'll start there, right? And before I knew it, I had shaved down bare chested, and I was like, well, this is crazy. And oh my God, yeah, this got so wild. I couldn't stop staring at myself in the mirror, and I was like,
Were you feeling sexy?
very. I was like, yeah, like my nipples were real hard, and and I was like very hard, and
Oh my God. Wow.
so the best part of this, and she'll kill me, but I've told some people already. It's the best part of this.
it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. We were having a lovemaking session, and at some point, she goes, "Are you seriously staring at your own chest right now?" Because I stopped mid pump, and I was looking at myself
In a mirror? In a mirror?
no, just down at myself.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's great.
Oh my God.
That's great.
That's great.
Yeah, it's great.
Just
It's all
get-
grown. It's all.
Oh, it's back?
Oh, yeah. It turns out it comes back pretty quickly.
A couple hours.
Why don't you get it lasered if you like it so much?
I don't like it that much. I think it's very strange. I look.
This is the thing about perverted things, and I relate to him so much. They're really great just because they're novel. They wear off really quick. Like you might be staring at that and
But if you like
spraying.
it's sexy.
Right. And you might be staring at it and spraying for a couple of days. And then you look at it one time and you're like, I look ridiculous. And it's the fantasy's completely over.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's what happens, right?
Totally.
Like I remember one time shaving all of my pubic hair off. And same thing. I looked in the mirror, I was like, oh my God, this is so exciting. I'm like a porn star. And then 4 days later, I'm like, that looks ridiculous and gross. And it turned.
Yeah.
But the excitement of something new happening down there with all that old equipment.
I'm telling you. Just tell me about it.
Oh, man.
Nothing wrong with a little excitement now and then.
Sure. I want to do some facts, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so the Mormon church, we're talking about how they separate men and women for a part of it. And I asked someone we know who is familiar with the Mormon church. I got current information about what happens in church because she said, I don't know if this still happens that way. And that's why I wanted to make sure. Church is now 2 hours, cut down from 3. Twice a month, the women go to Relief Society, the men go to Elders Quorum, and then the alternate weeks they're in Sunday school called Gospel Doctrine, which is men and women. Primary is for ages 3 to 11. It's every week. Youth is 12 to 18. They follow a similar schedule to the grown-ups where they alternate with Sunday school one week, and then the next are split to go to young men plus young women's. So they alternate.
So it sounds like they're phasing it in.
Because they alternate because the last hour. Yeah. So it is, I guess it is still broken up, but also there's more mixing.
Right. It's changing.
Was 3
Which,
and
look,
it's
I
now 2.
applaud. That's one of my complaints about religion is it gets locked in and there's just no
Yeah.
evolution.
Oh, I wonder what Aaron's Enneagram is.
I don't know him well enough. I know Aaron well enough. I don't know Enneagrams
Well,
well
but we
enough.
have to take the test. Should we try?
Sure. How long is the test?
It's fast.
Okay.
Okay, Aaron, you're going to answer this.
Okay.
I'm going to say something and you're going to tell me inaccurate to accurate, but it's 1, 2, 3. It's 1 to 5. 1 being inaccurate, 5 being accurate. So you can do your little toggle. Okay, I strive for perfection.
2,
Okay. I work hard to be helpful to others.
3.
It is important to
Can I just say really quick? I'm already having this sensation I have when you and I take these tests, or if I were to take one with Kristen and I'm just listening. because, of course, I know Aaron so well. So it's just very like tempting.
To want
answer
to weigh
for
in.
me?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Well, you can weigh in, but I want always to hear Aaron's answer first.
Of course.
Okay. It is important to me that other people like me.
5,
It is important to me to achieve great things.
3,
I make more significant contributions than the average person.
2,
I feel my emotions very. I feel my emotions very deeply.
5,
100.
I have a sense that other people will never truly understand me.
5.
Oh.
Is that excluding me?
Yes, it is actually.
What about me? I think deeply about things.
5,
I am prepared for any disaster.
2,
That's right, I guess. Yeah, you know that thing.
I like to be around people who I can help.
3.
3.
I told you.
I'm sorry. That was the only one I had to do it on.
I like to feel that I'm an important person in my social groups.
5.
I seek excitement. 3?
20.
Really?
No, I was gonna say 4. Yeah, 4.
I am.
He just told me, let me just say something.
Okay.
We were just chatting, and he's been driving Uber, right?
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, ideally, my route takes me deep downtown where no one will pick people up. That's my favorite. And I'm like, duh. That's why I want to work at 7-Eleven.
Yeah. But is that
Like, you're not-
excitement seeking?
I think it's arousal seeking.
Yeah, maybe. Arousal, though, is more. But he said 4, and
I told the story on here where he picked up a guy and wearing a ski mask, and he let him get in the car and he drove to work. Like, that's
Yeah.
someone to me that's really looking for some
But excitement.
I found out more about the ski mask
Oh,
because after that I see them and it's like
it's a style.
it's a fashion thing.
yeah. I mean, it's insane to get in someone's car with a full ski mask on.
It is a
though.
lot. You're asking
In the
for a
middle
lot
of summer.
A lot of good faith.
Yeah, you definitely are.
Holding a pistol in a bag with a dollar sign on it.
Told me to step on it.
Okay. Ready? We have like a few more pages.
A few more pages.
Okay, I'm good at seeing the bright side of things when others complain.
4.
I like to do things as I've always done them.
4. I'm sorry. Just pause. I do. It is funny answering this now, and maybe what I would have answered
I
a year ago,
know.
even. But
I know that's what's hard about these tests. But I think
I'm really trying to answer now.
Yeah, that's
It's
good.
very hard to not think what have I always been
Yeah.
like.
I know.
That is the struggle because you're like, well, 95% of my life I was this way. So if we're trying to find out who I really am, it's maybe that. But actually, you're trying to find out what number you are today.
And what is
not a
really
year
am?
ago. Yeah.
Really am is nothing.
Truly, you're context dependent.
I want people to admire me.
5.
I want to achieve a lot in my life.
Really quick, does anyone answer 1 till I want people to admire me? It seems like such a primal desire. Could anyone?
I think some people don't care about that.
Yeah, I guess the
word admire is very
non-approval-
specific.
approval seekers.
I want to achieve a lot in my life.
5.
Oh, okay. And what month were you born? July.
J2C, baby.
J2C.
Is it June or July?
July.
Okay.
We interviewed a J2C today, July 2nd.
You did.
Yeah, your birthday. That was fun for me.
Was it?
It was because I didn't always have the same number as you, but only one time in those 100 questions were we on opposite sides of 3.
Oh, that's
If
interesting.
that makes sense. Like I was
Yeah.
always in the same zone as you were.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Interesting.
fun.
Okay, you ready?
Yes. Ready.
You're a 7. That's the enthusiast. It says 7s are defined by their desire to experiencing everything good and pleasurable that the world has to offer while avoiding pain, boredom, and limitations. Although 7s appear enthusiastic and fun-loving, deep down they have a fear of getting stuck in negative emotions. Let's see about your wings.
That's pretty good.
Okay, so you have a 6 wing. 6s are loyal, responsible, and safety-conscious people who want to make the world safe and secure for the people they care about. At their core, their fear is not being able to survive on their own, so they rely on people, institutions, and beliefs to provide them with support while also being deeply skeptical and wary of those who may not deserve their trust. It takes some time to put their trust into someone or something, but when they do, they are exceedingly loyal.
That
Is it all adding up?
You're very loyal. To a fault, one might argue.
no, yes, it is adding up.
Exciting!
Thank you.
So Aaron's a 7.
Oh,
Seven.
I liked that. We got to learn about Aaron.
7.
Was that all on Julianne?
Oh, 7.
It's gonna be.
It's gotta
gonna
be.
be.
It's
Yeah.
4 hours later.
Well, sometimes you have to take.
That
quizzes.
wasn't a complaint. I enjoyed it. What? Is your 4 wing coming out now? Your 3?
Shut up.
Shut up.
Let me see if I
Shut
can
your
remember
ass.
it.
Shut your ass. Your teeth is showing.
I think mine.
Oh my God, what if you took the test right now?
I got scared that it wasn't gonna work. And by the way,
It has
wasn't.
happened.
It wasn't gonna work. It made me.
Yeah, that's stressful when you're waiting for the results.
I enjoyed that because it was tricky. It was tricky to
Yeah.
Yeah, to
to
think
go
about
with
those things.
who you are today, who you've been like your whole life.
It's
That's really
so
the hard
true.
part. Yeah, it's like you're trying to figure out if they're trying to evaluate your disposition or your current state.
Right.
Well, love you guys.
Love you, money. Even loyalty. I've talked about this a lot on here, but loyalty was a very important thing when my behavior was worse.
Yeah.
And now that my behavior's not that bad and you don't have to like put up with a lot to be friends with me, it doesn't matter as much to me. So I don't really think about it like I used to. Loyalty was number 1 for a long time.
You were the first one to really to tell me it was getting sober. How can I not be loyal to these friends?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
there was that thing.
And you're
'cause-
kind of bound together by the other people also need loyalty because they too are fucking you over pretty often.
Yeah. It was really hard to figure out, and then and now it just
Yeah. It's
makes
like,
a lot more sense.
it would be
and,
like 8th on my list of someone I wanted to be friends with. I don't even know if it would even come up now. And it used to be probably top 2.
Definitely.
All right. Sorry, Monica. We were ending it.
No,
Love
all
you.
good. Love you guys.
Love you.